Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I am in Konoha, I can upgrade the talent entry. Chapter 1. Hiss. Where is this place? Liang Jia woke up in a daze. He felt something hit his head. He reached out to touch it, but then heard a child's laughter. He opened his eyes and looked at his surroundings in surprise. This is a classroom, surrounded by a group of little kids, looking at me and laughing. There was also a man with an angry face on the podium, yelling at him. Night God Ryosuke, you're sleeping during class time again. Get out and stand outside. Night God Ryosuke, me. Liang Jia was in a daze, feeling that many images flashed through his mind. He subconsciously walked towards the door of the classroom. Halfway through, a guy with a puppy on his head suddenly stretched out a leg to stir him up. Liang Jia glanced at the little kid and walked over directly. Nara Shikamaru, you two, go out with Yagami Ryosuke. As soon as he walked to the door, the teacher's angry roar came from the classroom behind him. Then a kid with pineapple hair and dead fish eyes came out of the classroom and stood beside Liang Jia. Ryosuke, it's the two of us who were punished to stand again today. The little kid with the pineapple head looked up at the clouds in the sky with a bored look on his face. Ah, yes, Liang Jia responded instinctively. He felt that his mind was still confused, and there were always some strange and familiar pictures in his mind, which made him unable to concentrate. Nara Shikamaru glanced at him, probably wondering why Ryosuke was a little sullen today. But he was not a talkative person. Coupled with a smart brain, he understood what to ask and what not to ask at a young age. Besides, that's super troublesome. Woo, today's cloud looks like a rabbit. Nara Shikamaru raised her head and continued to be in a daze. So, I'm Night God Ryosuke now. Is this the Hokage world? Night God Ryosuke finally accepted the memories of the past 10 years at this moment. So I'm already dead. He smiled wryly. 10 years ago, he traveled to this Hokage world, but for some reason, the memory of his previous life has not been awakened. Until today, because of the awakening of the system, the memory of his previous life was finally awakened, and he regained control of this body. Are you in the system? Night God Ryosuke called in his heart. Ding. Single quote. It has been detected that the memory of the host's previous life has been awakened, and the system is officially binding. Hasn't the relationship been bound before? After a few seconds. Ding. Single quote. The binding is complete. Welcome to talent entry system. Finally finished. Night God Ryosuke asked impatiently. System, do you have any functions? This is the world of Hokage, so the risk factor is super high. What's more, the Night God Ryosuke is still in Konoha village now. It was the village that was blown up by a rice dumper from Pen 6 Paths a few years later. He didn't want to experience the feeling of death again. Not to mention, whether he can survive until the time when Pen 6 Paths attacks the village is hard to say. After all, there is a Chunin exam ahead. Night God Ryosuke is not one of the original 12 Shaoqiang. He has not even seen himself as a character in the original work. He is probably a character who has not even graduated. No, it should be said that it is a background board, not even a dragon set. It's too miserable. The previous 10 years were too wasted. If the system had awakened me earlier, it would be impossible for my current strength to be stretched like this. Night God Ryosuke couldn't help but feel a headache when he thought that his 10-year-old self couldn't even unleash the most basic ninjutsu such as the 3-body technique 100%. This talent is too rubbish, right? Or is it because of the lazy relationship in the previous 10 years? After all, a student who sleeps in class is either a top student like Nara Shikamaru next to him, or a scumbag like Night God Ryosuke. So, Night God Ryosuke now especially hopes that the system he has obtained can be more powerful. It is best to let yourself have cage-level strength before the Chunin exam. If that is the case, it should not have died tragically in the Konoha collapse plan. This system aims to obtain high-quality talent entries for the host, so as to improve the survival ability of the host in this world. The host can transform the talent entries by obtaining other people's biological pheromones. Host has a chance to convert talent entries once a day, and the number of times per day cannot be superimposed. Talent entries can be equipped or disassembled. After dismantling, a certain amount of experience points can be obtained. Experience points can be used to increase the level of talent entries. The higher the level of the talent entry, the better the effect. Biopheromone. Cell tissue. Can you also convert talent entries? I don't know if this talent entry is powerful. Host, you still have a novice gift package to claim, do you want to claim it? The system suddenly asked. Get it now. Yagami Ryosuke said quickly in his heart. Newbie gift pack. If the system didn't say it, he almost forgot. Ding. Single quote. Congratulations to host for opening that newbie gift pack and getting the talent entry, Son of Destiny. A golden light shone before his eyes. Night God Ryosuke was a little dizzy from the golden light. But in my heart I was very happy. This is the golden legend. And, Destiny's son or something, once you hear it, you will be very tall. Shua. In front of you, an information panel unfolds automatically. Yagami Ryosuke looked up. Night God Ryosuke. Talent entry. Son of Destiny Gold. You are the darling of destiny in the legend, so you can always turn bad luck into good fortune in the face of danger. Luck is always with you, and your strength is plus 500% in all aspects when you encounter fatal danger. Plus 1000% chance of your enemies being unlucky. Number of conversions. 1 time. Biological pheromone warehouse. No items. Sure enough, it is worthy of being a golden legend. This attribute is so awesome. Ryosuke couldn't help gasping when he saw the information about the talent entry of Destiny's Son. This is too powerful. Not only has the strength increased by 5 times in all directions, and the enemy will be 10 times more unlucky than usual. This is the rhythm of stepping on a trap when you go out, and eating bugs when you eat. Night God Ryosuke couldn't help but began to mourn for his future enemies. Poor guys, I hope you can hold on. The get out of class bell rang. Teacher Iruka on the podium sorted out his lesson plans and announced that the get out of class was over. Ryosuke, Shikamaru, don't sleep during class anymore, understand? Walking to the door, seeing the 2 people who were still being punished, Teacher Iruka also said to the 2 with earnestness. In fact, this is mainly said to the Night God Ryosuke. Because Shikamaru is a smart kid and born in the Nara clan. In Konoha, there are not many family ninjas who are bad at it. Not to mention, Shikamaru is also the only son of Nara Shikaku, the patriarch of the Nara family. It is not an exaggeration to describe her as being from a wealthy family. But the Night God Ryosuke is different, he is just a commoner, just like Iruka himself. So Iruka knows how hard it is to get ahead as a commoner. At the beginning, he was also the tail of the crane in the class, but with his unremitting efforts, he finally became a chunin. So, talent almost doesn't matter, but be sure to try hard enough. Otherwise, even if you have a good talent, it will be wasted. Civilian ninja, if you don't work hard, you will never succeed. From the perspective of someone who has been there, Iruka is thinking about the Night God Ryosuke, but this child seems to be born with a very lazy personality, and he either deserts or sleeps in class. The cultural achievement is also a little better than Uzumaki Naruto in the class. But a 10,000 years last and a second to last are nothing to compare. Not to mention, in the actual combat class, Yishen Ryosuke's grades were worse than Uzumaki Naruto's. At least Naruto is not bad physically, and the Night God Ryosuke belongs to the kind of rotten everywhere. Iruka-sensei, I won't sleep again in the future. Yagami Ryosuke assured. I hope you can do what you say. Teacher Iruka shook his head, sighed, turned and left. Obviously, he didn't believe in the promise of Night God Ryosuke. Probably because this was the promise he had heard for the number of times he couldn't remember. But Night God Ryosuke never did it. If Iruka hadn't been serious and responsible, she would have given up on other teachers, such as Ryosuke, who is not a good student. Ryosuke, are you serious this time? Shikamaru on the side asked suddenly. When did I not take it seriously? Yagami Ryosuke said. Shikamaru looked at him with dead fish eyes. Last time, and last time. Night God Ryosuke, heartbroken old man, it's serious this time. Yagami Ryosuke said. I'm about to graduate, if I continue to mess around, I'm afraid I won't be able to graduate. That's true, Shikamaru nodded. Graduation. If he fails to graduate, he will definitely be nagged to death by his mother, right? But that's impossible. Just graduating from ninja school, it was too easy for Shikamaru. Shikamaru, let's have lunch on the rooftop. Akamichi Choji came over with a huge lunchbox and invited Shikamaru. Fine, Shikamaru nodded, greeted Night God Ryosuke, and followed Choji. Ryosuke, who was standing there, hesitated for a moment, but still didn't rush forward to get the biopheromone from the two of them. The future is long, and there is only one chance to transform every day. The first few times must be used wisely. If anyone in ninja school had biopheromones that were most suitable for transforming talent entries, Night God Ryosuke immediately thought of Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. The former is the orphan of the Uchiha family, with Uchiha blood, and the reincarnation of Indra's chakra. The latter has the blood of the Uzumaki family in his body. He is born with extremely large chakra and strong vitality, and he is also the reincarnation of Ashura's chakra. These two people are definitely the Night God Ryosuke's preferred conversion target. Exactly. Yagami Ryosuke just saw Uchiha Sasuke eating lunch in the classroom, so he can go directly to find a chance to get biopheromone from him. Biopheromones can be anything as long as they carry target cell substances. Night God Ryosuke's first thought is hair. Normal people lose 70 to 100 hairs every day, and hair is the easiest biopheromone to obtain. Urzuzi was quite cute when he was a child. Yagami Ryosuke muttered to himself, then turned and walked into the classroom. His seat was right at the end of Uchiha Sasuke's row. Yagami Ryosuke pretended to go back to his seat, and stopped suddenly when he passed by Uchiha Sasuke. Is there something wrong? Uchiha Sasuke looked at him coldly. Ever since his family was exterminated by his elder brother, this guy has always looked like this. It's the same look for everyone. You dropped your pen. Yagami Ryosuke bent down to pick up a pen from the ground. Randomly picked up a tiny hair on Uchiha Sasuke's chair. Give. He handed him the pen. This is not mine. Uchiha Sasuke replied coldly. Oh, yes, this is mine. Night God Ryosuke looked like he had just realized it. Uchiha Sasuke stared at him coldly. He always felt that this Night God Ryosuke had something ulterior motives, and, what he said just now, he had the feeling that the other party was scolding him. Is it an illusion? Sasuke thought suspiciously. I won't bother you to eat. After Yagami Ryosuke spoke, he went back to his seat directly. And Uchiha Sasuke watched him return to his seat and sat down, then frowned and looked away. Phew, no suspicion. Shen Ryosuke secretly heaved a sigh of relief, saying that Urzuzi, the little boy's eyes are quite scary. That cold feeling, should it be called Uchiha? Thinking to himself, Yagami Ryosuke also took out that Uchiha Sasuke's hair. There shouldn't be a mistake, right? He murmured to himself, but he didn't hesitate to move his hands. He directly collected the hair into the system's biopheromone warehouse, and then chose to transform it. Are you sure to convert the target into a talent entry? Confirm. Night God Ryosuke said silently. Ding. Single quote. Transformation succeeded. Congratulations to host for obtaining the talent entry. Spirit of Vengeance, Eye of Cursing, Indra's Resentment. In front of his eyes, a piece of golden light shone. Stronger than before. Night Ryosuke subconsciously narrowed his eyes. At the same time, I was also surprised. System, isn't there a fixed one for the conversion of this talent entry? Night God Ryosuke asked. The system never said that. The system answers. There is such a good thing. Night God Ryosuke ecstatic. In this case, although there is only one conversion per day, there may not be only one talent entry obtained. Good guy. As expected of Urzuzi, there are actually 3 golden legend entries. Yagami Ryosuke raised his head and looked at Uchiha Sasuke in front of him. His eyes seemed to be looking at some rare treasure. In the level classification of the talent entry system, the golden color is already the 5th level. In front of the gold, there are 4 levels of white, green, blue and purple, which are successively progressive. On top of the gold, there is also a talent entry marked with the word, God. Night God Ryosuke called it a God level entry. At present, the God level entry is already the top talent entry. And the 4 talent entries obtained by Night God Ryosuke are all golden. Have to say, the quality is really high. Night God Ryosuke. Talent entry. Son of Destiny Gold. You are the darling of destiny in the legend, so you can always turn bad luck into good fortune in the face of danger. luck is always with you, and your strength is plus 500% in all aspects when you encounter fatal danger. Plus 1000% chance of your enemies being unlucky. Spirit of Vengeance Gold, you are an avenger, and you are unstoppable on the road of revenge. Chakra cultivation efficiency plus 1000%. Ninjutsu power plus 500%. Cursed Eyes Gold, your eyes are cursed by the world, but the world is ignorant. How do you know your talent? Get Sharingan with Uchiha blood, eye-opening efficiency plus 1000%. Pupil power plus 500%. Indra's Resentment Gold, Indra is resentful because of his father's preference for Ashura, and his resentment for dozens of lives is unmatched. Pupil power plus 500%. Susanoo's body size plus 500%. Pupil power plus 500%. Chakra plus 1000%. Number of conversions. 0 times. Biological pheromone warehouse. No items. Comma. The 3 new golden talent entries are almost all related to Sharingan, the blood successor limit of the Uchiha family. Except for Vengeful Spirit. This talent entry improves the efficiency of cultivating chakra and the power of ninjutsu, and has nothing to do with the blood succession limit. But this talent entry is not bad at all. With 10 times the cultivation efficiency, Night God Ryosuke, a commoner, can also have a huge number of chakra. With 5 times the power of ninjutsu, even an ordinary Great Fireball technique can produce more effects than Fire Dragon Flame bullets. C-level ninjutsu, the power becomes A-level in seconds. The entry of the Cursed Eye not only allowed the Night God Ryosuke, who was originally only a commoner bloodline, but with mediocre talent, to obtain the Sharingan, but also the Uchiha bloodline. There will be no such thing as Hatake Kakashi, who can only maintain the state of opening eyes forever and cannot close them. And 10 times the eye-opening efficiency means that the Night God Ryosuke only needs 1/10 of the normal Uchiha family member's mental stimulation, or even lower, to open his eyes. And all the way to Mangekyo, no bottlenecks. After all, 10 times more efficient, are you kidding me? In addition, there is a 5-fold increase in pupil power. To know the reason why Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil technique is powerful is the support of pupil power. Mangekyo's pupil technique consumes a lot of pupil power. The stronger the pupil technique, the more pupil power it consumes. And once the pupil power is exhausted, the eyes will go blind. And the Night God Ryosuke, who has 5 times the pupil power, is much stronger than other Uchiha's Mangekyo on a basic basis. It cannot be said to be comparable to the eternal Mangekyo, but it is definitely much stronger than the normal Mangekyo. With so much pupil power, even with the same recovery efficiency, Night God Ryosuke's pupil power recovery is faster than other Uchiha. For example, if they all recover 0.1% in 1 hour, ordinary Uchiha can only recover 1 point in an hour with 1000 points of pupil power, but Yagami Ryosuke can recover 6 points in 1 hour with 6000 points of pupil power. Is it to recover faster than other Uchiha? Not to mention, the last talent item, Indra's Resentment, added 500% pupil power to Night God Ryosuke. This time, the pupil power of Yagami Ryosuke is 11 times that of other Uchihas. People recover 1 point an hour, and he recovers 11 points. Wouldn't it take an hour or two for the pupil power consumed by a pupil technique to recover? Even if it is not the Eternal Eye, the upper limit of the pupil power will gradually decrease if the pupil technique is used too much. But if Mangekyo of other Uchiha is blind for 1 year, Ryosuke, who has a higher upper limit, can last for 11 years. 11 years later, Night God Ryosuke still can't find a way to open the Eternal Eye. Then just stop hanging around. This is completely sorry for the words of the strong man. In addition to pupil power, Indra's Resentment, this talent entry has 3 other attributes. 1 increases Susanoo's size by 5. Originally, Susanoo was already huge enough. For regular ninjas, it was already a dimensionality reduction blow. Now 5 times more. Does this leave a way for others to survive? Night God Ryosuke himself couldn't help but feel like he was turning titanium. Fortunately, no one knows. Otherwise, the 5 major ninja villages will collectively kill Night God Ryosuke in advance. After all, there shouldn't be such an awesome character in this world. If Susanoo's body size increased by 5 times, it was already too much, but for the latter attribute, the power of the pupil technique increased by 5 times, it was even more too much. Originally, Sharingan's pupil technique was notoriously powerful. Shaozi Itachi easily kills Kakashi with a Tsukuyomi. Uchiha Shisui's move distinguished heavenly gods made Konoha's high-level officials extremely afraid. Uchiha Obito's Kamui is even more involved in the field of space. Hollow is invincible for 5 minutes, and the other eye is also extremely powerful. It can directly teleport objects within sight into the Kamui space, even the truth-seeking ball can be teleported directly to you. Although there is also a pupil technique that stretches across. But most of them are quite strong and very incomprehensible. And this is still normal. If you increase the power by 5 times. Wouldn't that be heaven-defying? This entry is too powerful. It is indeed an entry named Indra, really strong. Night God Ryosuke couldn't help admiring in his heart. As for the final increase of tenfold chakra, in front of these entry attributes, it seems a bit ordinary. Yagami Ryosuke summed it up. The 3 talent entries he transformed from Uchiha Sasuke have improved him in total. 10 times the efficiency of chakra training, 5 times the power of ninjutsu, Uchiha blood, 10 times the efficiency of eye opening, 10 times the power of pupils, 5 times the size of Susan, 5 times the power of pupils and 10 times the amount of chakra. The attributes of the talent entry, Son of Destiny, are different. The first is to set off when encountering fatal danger, and increase the strength by 5 times in all directions. The second one has little to do with Night God Ryosuke himself, it is mainly aimed at those enemies, making them more unlucky, walking and wrestling, stepping on dog shit when going out, those are all routine operations. On the whole, it seems that it is not as intuitive as the improvement of the 3 talent entries just obtained. But just an all-round increase in strength is already astonishing. As for the ability to activate when encountering fatal danger, Night God Ryosuke looked down at an ant that happened to be crawling on the ground. If I was bitten by this ant, and it happened to be carrying a deadly virus, wouldn't I be doomed? Single quote. Yagami Ryosuke thought over and over in his heart. Really, in the next second, he felt an out-of-the-box power born from his body, instantly spreading all over his body. It's not just that his physical fitness has improved several times. Even the pitifully small number of chakra in Night God Ryosuke's body increased instantly. Sure enough, Yagami Ryosuke's eyes lit up and he couldn't help laughing. He was thinking just now, how is this fatal danger determined? Could it be judged from his subjective concept? Therefore, he intentionally imagined an apparently small and common thing to be particularly dangerous, as if he might lose his life because of it at any time. Really, in this way, the entry attribute of Destiny's Child was activated by Night God Ryosuke. All-round strength increased by 5 times. Originally, the strength of Night God Ryosuke was not even as good as Genin. It can be enhanced 5 times in all directions. Yagami Ryosuke feels that beating Genin is almost like a father beating his son. This is because he hasn't learned any ninjutsu, and his own physical skills are also extremely stretched. If he practiced a few ninjutsu well and used the attributes of the talent entry to successfully open his eyes, his strength would be many times stronger than now. After eating the bento he brought, Yagami Ryosuke found a secluded place to sit down and rest. While there is still time in the lunch break, Yagami Ryosuke is going to open the Sharingan first. Opening eyes may be a very difficult thing for other Uchihas, but for Night God Ryosuke who has the talent entry of Cursed Eyes it is just a matter of having hands. After making sure that no one was around, Night God Ryosuke closed his eyes and began to recall the various tragic literary works he had read in his previous life and the sad scenes in those film and television works. Reminiscing, Yagami Ryosuke couldn't help but burst into tears. And under his closed eyelids at this time, the pupils gradually turned blood red, and a small black jade gradually spun and began to solidify. 1 minute later, Yagami Ryosuke stopped and reached out to touch his eyes. It feels cool in the eyes, as if there is a wave of energy gathering in them. This should be Sharingan's pupil power. It is not only when Mangekyo is turned on that there is pupil power. In fact, pupil power has appeared since Sharingan opened his eyes. It's just that compared to Mangekyo, even 3 Tomo Sharingan's pupil power is very scarce. Nothing compares to it, and at this time, Yi Shen Ryosuke could clearly feel the pupil power contained in his eyes. That's because he has the blessing of 2 talent entries, and it will be obvious when his pupil power has increased by 10 times. Single Guyu. It's not enough. Night God Ryosuke saw the pair of Sharingan after he successfully opened it through a small mirror. 1 minute. Just open your eyes. Isn't this better than Urzuzi's whole family being killed and angry and billing Guyu? But joking aside, the potential of the second pillar is still very strong. Moreover, even for the sake of Urzuzi providing him with 3 golden talent entries, Yishen Ryosuke will ignore those famous scenes where he pretended to be incompetent and was slapped in the face. Continue. Night God Ryosuke put away the small mirror, closed his eyes again, and began to recall more deeply. That green shadow under the Zushan sword formation. In front of the water monster, the dying descendants of Nuwa. In the barren mountains, the woman in white lying on the ground. One picture after another kept appearing in Night God Ryosuke's mind. Under the eyelids, the black Guyu spins wildly. Soon it changed from 1 hook jade to 2 hook jade. Subsequently, the speed of rotation gradually slows down. The 3rd hook jade that had just shown a trace did not completely condense in the end, but disappeared again after the speed of rotation slowed down. 2 minutes. Yagami Ryosuke silently counted the time in his mind. Then he took out the small mirror and looked into his own eyes. The left and right eyes are standard double hook jade. There was no dysplasia of 1 single go jade and 1 double go jade. It's not bad to activate the double hook jade in 3 minutes. Yagami Ryosuke's mouth curled up into a smile. Successfully opened the eyes and opened the double hook jade, which greatly improved the strength of Night God Ryosuke. First up is chakra. The chakra of the Uchiha family is basically directly related to the number of Guyu in Sharingan. Certainly, it's a different matter if you don't open your eyes. Speaking of eye opening, basically opening a single go jade is the elite of Genin, double go jade is the elite of Chunin, and the Uchiha clan of 3 go jade is almost all the strength of elite Jonin. And the Night God Ryosuke who successfully opened the double hook jade, at this time, the chakra base in the body has also changed from the original level that was far inferior to Genin to the level that is now close to Chunin. Plus a 10-fold increase. The chakra in his body has far surpassed most Chunin, reaching the point where it's close to Jonin. If it is described by 1 unit, it is about 0.8 calories. Although Hokage Kakashi is an elite Jonin, his Sharingan drags him down, consuming a certain amount of chakra every moment. Therefore, Kakashi's chakra has been in short supply. 0.8 calories, which is about the same level as Jonin. And 1 card of chakra is basically the standard amount of chakra in Jonin. If there is no drag from the Sharingan, Kakashi's chakra would not be so few. It can be said that success is also Sharingan, and failure is also Sharingan. But as a gift from Uchiha Obito to Kakashi, before he died. Kakashi will never take off this eye no matter what. 2 Tomo Sharingan is turned on, plus a 10-fold increase in chakra. My current chakra is basically close to the level of Jonin. At my age, chakra has reached this level, except for a very few changes. There's no one else. Night God Ryosuke felt the extremely abundant chakra in his body with satisfaction. This chakra was much bigger than his previous chakra, not of the same magnitude at all. And the benefit of opening the double hook jade is not only the increase in the amount of chakra. At the same time, the double hook jade also means that the Night God Ryosuke can use Sharingan to copy other people's physical skills and ninjutsu. Just like Kakashi, a copy ninja who claims to have copied thousands of ninjutsu. Isn't it the Sharingan, ninjutsu? I couldn't even use 3-body technique well before, but that kind of rubbish talent is gone forever. The 3-body technique, which was not used well before, can now be used freely by Night God Ryosuke. Mainly it's the blood of the Uchiha clan that makes his talent better. Although it can't be said that he has reached the talent of the filial son Itachi. But it's normal Uchiha's level. Not great, but not pulled down either. The lunch break at noon is over. Yagami Ryosuke returned to the classroom and took his seat. Ryosuke, do you want to go to the river to play together after school this afternoon? At this time, a little boy next to him came over and asked. This person is the deskmate of Night God Ryosuke. Like the previous Night God Ryosuke, he also belongs to the role of background board. In terms of relationship, it's not bad, it's just a normal classmate relationship. No, I'm going to practice after school. Night God Ryosuke declined the other party's invitation. Practice? You? The other party looked at him with a surprised expression. It seems hard to believe that someone as lazy as Ryosuke, the night god, would take the initiative to practice. Night god Ryosuke doesn't want to talk to this guy. What expression is this? He is Ryosuke, the night god, and he will be a new man in the future. He was too lazy in the past. Obviously the talent is not good, but I don't know how to work hard. No wonder it became a background board that didn't even have an appearance name. The first class in the afternoon is theoretical knowledge. Night god Ryosuke was still listening to the class seriously at first, but after listening, he couldn't help looking out the window. Wow, that cloud looks like a bun. Speaking of steamed stuffed buns, what's going on when I suddenly feel a little hungry? Yagami Ryosuke touched his stomach, feeling a little hungry indeed. It may be that at noon, I refined a lot of chakra relationships, resulting in all the lunch I ate was consumed. That's why I get hungry so quickly. By the way, do ninja schools still teach this kind of thing? Are you sure this is what a 10-year-old kid should learn? Yagami Ryosuke glanced at the parabolic graph on the blackboard. At this time, Mr. Iruka was explaining the theoretical application of shuriken to them. But the point is, isn't this stuff all based on feel? I haven't heard that the filial son Itachi has learned this stuff, has he? But other people's shurikens are not the same. Thieves 6 who lost it. Forget it, don't learn this kind of thing. Night god Ryosuke gave up understanding the meaning of this bunch of parabolas and these numbers. Of course, it's definitely not because he found that he couldn't understand. But this thing is really useless. Throwing a shuriken. Wouldn't it be enough to have hands? After the first class in the afternoon, Yagami Ryosuke found Hyuga Hinata in the next row of seats. 10-year-old Hinata looks small and cute. Night god Ryosuke had the urge to reach out and stroke her blue-purple hair. Fortunately, he restrained himself. Otherwise, it would definitely be regarded as a titanium child. Hey, I'll give it back to you. Yagami Ryosuke handed the small mirror to Hinata. Ah, okay. Hinata took the mirror timidly with her small hands, and she didn't dare to look at him with her head down. Thank you. Yagami Ryosuke said thanks. No. You're welcome. The voice was too low, I almost couldn't hear it clearly. Night god Ryosuke complained in his heart. In other words, Hinata's character is really too introverted. I don't know how it was developed. It seems like this since childhood, right? Speaking of the environment, isn't Hyuga Hanabi quite outgoing? Maybe it's some childhood experience. After all, he was kidnapped by Cloud Shinobi's ninja at the age of 3. Having had that kind of childhood experience will leave some psychological shadows to some extent. However, Hinata like this is really gentle. It's just too shy to look up at people. Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. Maybe Yagami Ryosuke stood by for so long that Hinata couldn't help but start to blush. Ryosuke-kun, is there anything else? Hinata, who was a little embarrassed, also encouraged the warrior to ask. No, I just think Hinata is cute. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. So cute, so cute. These 4 words echoed in Hinata's mind many times. Visible to the naked eye, her face was getting redder and redder. Ryosuke-kun, are you talking nonsense? What's so cute? I don't even. Hinata faltered and hawed to the point where she couldn't speak clearly. Night god Ryosuke saw that enough was enough. If this continues, Hinata is afraid that he will have to perform a unique skill of fainting in place on the spot. It seems that someone is calling me, I'm leaving first. By the way, thank you for the mirror. Yagami Ryosuke just found an excuse and slipped away. He was going to buy something to eat to pad his stomach. Otherwise you will starve. At only 10 years old, it is time to grow up, so you can't starve yourself. If it is stunted like Naruto, it will be miserable. Ryosuke-kun, you lied again. Hinata looked up at the back of Yagami Ryosuke running out of the classroom and muttered softly. Around 4 p.m. Ninja school is out. Yagami Ryosuke said hello to a few friends in the class who had a good relationship, and then quickly ran out of the school with his small school bag. Konoha village is said to be a village, but it is actually not small. Yagami Ryosuke trotted all the way back home in about 6 or 7 minutes. I'm back. Yagami Ryosuke, who walked into the entrance, changed into indoor slippers, threw the small school bag on the table, and ran directly towards the yard. Is Ryosuke back? Would you like a snack? In the kitchen, Yagami Mizuki, who who was already preparing dinner, poked her head out and asked with a smile. "No, Mom, I'm going to practice in the yard." Night God Ryosuke responded in a hurry, and the man ran to the yard. This child, Yagami Mizuki shook her head with a smile, and continued to work in the kitchen. Night God Ryosuke is a single-parent family in this life. His father died when he was 5 or 6 years old because of a mission that was said to be dangerous. Since then, he has been living with his mother Yagami Mizuki. Mother and son are also dependent on each other. Yagami Mizuki is a medical chunin who usually works at Konoha Hospital. It's not wartime now, and the work in the hospital is not very busy. So it's quite early to get off work. Yagami Ryosuke's family is not rich, but they are not poor either. Both parents are ninjas, and my father was a special jonin before, and the rewards for performing missions are not low, and the family still has some savings. Therefore, the first 10 years of Yagami Ryosuke's life was actually good. It's just that his talent is too ordinary, and he is lazy. That's why the strength is so stretched. But these are now a thing of the past. The memory of the previous life has been awakened, and the Night God Ryosuke will definitely not continue to eat and wait to die like in the past. Yard. Yagami Ryosuke came to a big tree planted in the yard. Let's practice the control of chakra first. After all, there are so many chakras suddenly added. Although there is Sharingan, it is not completely uncontrollable, but it is still far from excellent control. A ninja may not have any powerful ninjutsu, but the control of chakra must be excellent. Otherwise, your 3 copies of chakra will not be able to exert the effect of one part of other ninjas. The other 2.5 copies were probably wasted directly. And certain ninjutsu require a lot of chakra's ability to control. The typical ones are medical ninjutsu and Rasengan. Night God Ryosuke's mother is a medical ninja, so there are many scrolls at home about how to improve chakra's control ability. It's just that Night God Ryosuke was too lazy in the past, not to mention how much chakra he was at that time. I'm afraid it doesn't even have a third of genin. So little chakra, you need to practice the control ability of the fart. Let's start with climbing trees. I remember doing that. Standing in front of the big tree, Night God Ryosuke began to climb up tentatively. He first stepped on the tree trunk with one foot, then used chakra to attach it to it, and then tried to lift the other foot up to step on it, but as soon as he lifted it, he fell directly to the ground with a bang. Ouch! Yagami Ryosuke also rubbed his ass. Everything is difficult at the beginning, keep going. He consoled himself. Stand up and continue practicing. Before he knew it, Ryosuke practiced climbing trees in the yard for more than an hour. From the beginning, he couldn't even take 1 step forward, but now, he can already take 3 steps up. Ryosuke, it's time to eat. At this time, Yagami Mizuki in the room also came to call Yagami Ryosuke to eat. Here we come, Mom. Yagami Ryosuke wiped the sweat from his brow, then looked at the tree in front of him. Let's practice after eating. Cultivation is not something that happens overnight. Night God Ryosuke didn't expect to be able to feed a fat man with one breath. And maybe he will issue talent entries related to chakra control in the future. Wouldn't it be more effective by then? After going back to take a shower, Yagami Ryosuke came to the restaurant. I'm gonna start now. On the opposite side, Yagami Mizuki smiled and looked at her son in front of her. Eat more, so that you can grow tall and strong. For Yagami Ryosuke's son, Yagami Mizuki didn't expect him to achieve much, as long as he can grow up safely, and then marry a daughter-in-law, and give her 1 or 2 grandchildren or something, he will be satisfied. Yagami Mizuki, who is a ninja herself, is well aware of the dangers of the ninja profession. Night God Ryosuke's father died in the mission. Therefore, even if her son didn't show any outstanding ninja talents, Yagami Mizuki was not disappointed at all. Even a little happy, because that way, the son would not need to perform those dangerous tasks when he grows up. Not like his father, because he is a special jonin, so he has to perform some more dangerous tasks. Mom, eat more too, you've lost weight recently. Yagami Ryosuke did not feel strange to the mother in front of him because of the awakening of past life memories. On the contrary, because his mind became mature, he was more able to understand the difficulty of Yagami Mizuki. Under the lights, the mother and son ended the dinner in a warm atmosphere. After dinner, Night God Ryosuke first went back to the room to practice a genin technique. But the ninjutsu he currently knows is only a 3-body technique. After tossing and practicing a few times and feeling fully proficient, Night God Ryosuke picked up a ninjutsu scroll next to it. This is the ninjutsu scroll left by his dead father. As a special jonin, the father of Night God Ryosuke also left a lot of legacy during his lifetime. Among them are the scrolls of several ninjutsu. They are basically water attributes, because his father's chakra attribute is water, and he is also good at water style and swordsmanship. Therefore, among these ninjutsu scrolls, there are 3rd gate water style ninjutsu, 2C level and 1B level. Not all ninjas are like Kakashi, who have mastered thousands of ninjutsu casually, otherwise Kakashi would not be famous in the ninja world for this. Most of the chunin may only know 1 or 2C level ninjutsu. Most of the time, ninjutsu is the key move to determine the outcome, and they will not use it easily. And special jonin like Ryosuke's father will master more ninjutsu. But basically not too advanced. After all, they are civilian ninjas. There are no resources. In fact, this is the most critical. See water style. The water is turbulent, this should not be difficult to learn. Night God Ryosuke glanced at the ninjutsu scroll in his hand, thinking that with his improved talent, it should not be difficult to learn such difficult ninjutsu. By the way, I don't know what my chakra attribute is, don't you have no water attribute? Thinking of this, Yishen Ryosuke also immediately opened the desk drawer beside him, and found a box from the drawer, which contained a chakra test strip and some other small items. Yagami Ryosuke took out the chakra test paper, then pinched it in his hand and entered his own chakra into it. Following the actions of Night God Ryosuke, there was also a reaction on this chakra test paper. The test paper first became wet on the left side, then the right side burned directly, and finally this chakra test paper split in 2 from the middle. Water, fire and wind. Night God Ryosuke thought. The attributes of water and wind should be innate in him. As for the fire attribute, there is a high probability that it was added after obtaining the blood of the Uchiha family. After all, what Uchiha is best at is fire style, but for any Uchiha, it seems that the chakra attribute will have the attribute of fire. 3 attributes, it's okay. Night God Ryosuke muttered. Although it is not a natural 5 attribute chakra, but only 2 are missing. Moreover, here is Konoha, the ones with the most leaves are fire style, wind style, and water style. In contrast, earth style and lightning style are relatively niche. Then let's watch this mess again and again, and see how long it takes for me to develop my improved talent. Although 2-tomo Sharingan can be copied directly. But Night God Ryosuke has not yet had a suitable opportunity to copy ninjutsu. Although there are many ninjas practicing in Konoha's training ground, most of them are genin. What I practice is basically gymnastics, shuriken throwing and so on. The practice of real ninjutsu may need to go to some high-level training grounds to encounter it. But that kind of training ground is not accessible to everyone. Night God Ryosuke, a ninja school student, obviously does not have this qualification. So at this stage, there is really no good way for Yagami Ryosuke to copy other people's ninjutsu. For the time being, he can only rely on his own talent to learn. Yard. Night God Ryosuke took a large basin of water and placed it on the ground in front of him. Let's start. Night God Ryosuke took a deep breath, followed by making mudras with his hands, and his movements were a little rusty, making watery mudras. Water style. The water is turbulent, he shouted loudly, full of momentum. Pity. It doesn't help. The water in the basin in front of him didn't stir up any waves at all. Even the serious expression of Night God Ryosuke is reflected in the water. The posing Yagami Ryosuke is suddenly a little embarrassed. A gust of night wind blew, and he felt a chill on the back of his neck. At this time, Yagami Mizuki, who was standing not far away, couldn't help but burst out laughing. Mom, don't disturb my cultivation. Yagami Ryosuke blushed and shouted. So embarrassing. My mother must have seen the way I yelled out the name of the move just now. At this moment, Yishen Ryosuke wished he could dig out a 3-room living room and bury himself on the spot. Okay, I don't want to watch. Yagami Mizuki looked at her son's cute little face with a smile, then turned around and went back to the house with a smile. It didn't count just now. It must be because I'm not familiar with the relationship between the seals. This time I'll get familiar with the seals first before coming back. Night God Ryosuke summed up the experience of his failure just now, then sat down cross-legged, and planned to practice the seals according to the order of seals on the ninjutsu scroll. Then, for the next half an hour or so, Night God Ryosuke has been practicing how to quickly and steadily seal the seal. After more than half an hour of practice, Yagami Ryosuke felt that he could practice well. So he stood up again, with a serious expression, and quickly sealed his hands. Actually it's not that fast, it's about 2.5 prints per second. It's incomparable with those Jonin's printing speed. But in the ninja school, the seal speed is not too slow, and it can even be ranked in the top 5. Water style. The water is turbulent, Night God Ryosuke shouted loudly. This time, the water in the basin in front of him finally moved a little. It's just that there's not much movement. The water wavered a few times, stirring up a small current, and then it was gone. It didn't even overflow the outside of the basin. Come again. Night God Ryosuke did not stop. Go ahead and try again. Over and over again, relying on the confidence that the amount of chakra in his body is quite a lot. Night God Ryosuke practiced this ninjutsu over and over again. Finally, when more than half of the chakra in his body was consumed, Night God Ryosuke successfully cast a complete water chaos. Suddenly, a stream of water rushed out of the basin in an instant, flew directly for more than 10 meters, and hit the wall of the yard. Successful. Night God Ryosuke's eyes lit up. Immediately ran over happily to see if the wall had been broken. As it turns out, Yagami Ryosuke was definitely overthinking it. Although he successfully performed the ninjutsu of Mizuranbo, he didn't have much power at all as a beginner. This is still under the 5-fold increase. Otherwise, probably not much better than him pissing himself against the wall. After all, I just learned it, so it's normal to be weak. Night God Ryosuke consoled himself. And, the first step has been taken, and the next step is to persevere in practice. I believe that Ryosuke, the Night God, will be able to practice this water chaos to the point where it is no worse than other water-style ninjas. At that time, at a 5-fold increase. The power is probably comparable to the A-level water-style waterfall technique, right? A water turbulence, used for the effect of the Great Waterfall technique. Exciting just thinking about it. It's almost time for ninjutsu practice today. Let's continue to practice climbing trees before. It's so difficult for me to practice AC level ninjutsu, which is also related to my poor control of chakra. If my ability to control chakra is better, practicing ninjutsu will get twice the result with half the effort. Thinking to himself, Night God Ryosuke also came to the big tree in the yard again. Continue to start tree climbing training before dinner. This practice is to practice until 11 o'clock at night. Until Yagami Mizuki came over and told him to rest. Night God Ryosuke left the yard with unsatisfied feelings. And at this time, Night God Ryosuke can already take 4 or 5 steps up. Not bad progress. Next morning, Yagami Ryosuke had breakfast, took the lunchbox that Yagami Mizuki prepared for him, and went out to school. He didn't sleep very well last night. Mostly because of excitement. I fell asleep very late. I was still a little sleepy at the moment, and kept yawning along the way. I'm so sleepy, I can't stay up late anymore. Yagami Ryosuke muttered sleepily. At this time, he suddenly bumped into something soft. The Night God Ryosuke, who was still a child, almost lost his balance and fell to the ground. Kid, are you okay? A soft hand grabbed him, and then a soft voice came. Yagami Ryosuke instantly felt refreshed. He looked up at the woman in front of him. She has long black hair, wears a ninja forehead protector, and a pair of red eyes, shining with the gentle light of a woman. Women are not thin, but they are not fat either. In good shape. Especially open-minded. One look at her future child will definitely not be hungry. Sunset Red. Yagami Ryosuke silently read the opponent's name in his heart. What's the matter? Is it painful? Shihahong looked at the cute little boy in front of her, worried if she bumped into the boy just now. It's also her fault. She was too hasty to leave just now, and didn't notice each other, which caused the two to bump into each other. No, it doesn't hurt. Night God Ryosuke shook his head and said. As big sister a ninja. Because he is a 10-year-old kid now, so this big sister, Yagami Ryosuke, also feels at ease. Although his mental age is not younger than the evening red in front of him. That's right, the big sister is Jonin. Kureni Yuhi said with a smile, while reaching out to rub Yagami Ryosuke's short black hair. This kid is so cute. You must be able to fascinate many girls when you grow up, right? Yuhi Hong thought to herself. Yagami Ryosuke doesn't like others touching her hair, but if she's a pretty big sister, then I forgive you. Wow, big sister is amazing, but I will definitely be stronger than big sister in the future. Really? Shiha Hong squatted down with a smile. Then how are your grades in school? If your grades are not good, you won't be able to be better than big sister in the future. If we don't talk about grades, we are still good friends. Night God Ryosuke exaggerated and said. Ha ha ha. After hearing the words, Kureni Yuhi couldn't help laughing happily when she saw Yagami Ryosuke's miserable appearance. What's your name, kid? After laughing, Yuhi Hong also asked. My name is Yagami Ryosuke, how about you big sister? Night God Ryosuke replied. Big sister is called Yuhi Hong. Kurenai Yuhi stretched out her hand and pinched Yagami Ryosuke's cheek. For a child's face, don't pinch it too comfortably. Yuhi Hong felt that she liked the feel a little bit. No, your face will grow bigger. Yagami Ryosuke rubbed his cheek with his hand, and said dissatisfied. No, and Ryosuke looks so cute, it's okay to be a little fatter. Shiha Hong said with a smile, feeling that this child is too interesting. It would be great if it was his own child. Think about it or forget it. She doesn't even have a boyfriend yet. It's too early to think about children now. Night God Ryosuke is still very confident about his appearance. He looks like his mother. Yagami Mizuki is a big beauty, so Yagami Ryosuke is also cute and handsome, a standard handsome guy. In the class, even Uchiha Sasuke is slightly inferior in terms of appearance alone. Pity, Night God Ryosuke's past performance is too stretched. Even if he looks good, his popularity is far less than that of Uchiha Sasuke. But the class is nothing more than a bunch of brats. Even the future beauties like Hyuga Hinata and Yamanaka Ino are just little kids now. Means nothing. It's still a big sister like Kurenai Yuhi, which makes Yagami Ryosuke more interested. Is Ryosuke going to school? Yuhi Hong suddenly asked. Yes. Yagami Ryosuke nodded. Is that going to be late? Yuhi Hong suddenly said with a sly smile. I was so busy talking to the pretty big sister that I forgot the time. Really, beauty is a disaster. Yagami Ryosuke complained in his heart, but also hurried to leave. Goodbye, big sister. Saying that, Yagami Ryosuke suddenly took advantage of Kureni Yuhi's inattention, and directly kissed her on the face. Then he ran away with a smile. This brat. Yuhi Hong touched her cheek, smiled and shook her head, but didn't think much about it. Just a 10-year-old kid. It is impossible for her to think crookedly. The other side, Yagami Ryosuke, who stepped into the classroom, was also relieved to see that teacher Iruka hadn't arrived yet. Catch up. Going to his seat and sitting down, Nara Shikamaru, who was next door in the aisle, glanced at him. Overslept? Asked Shikamaru. The relationship between Night God Ryosuke and Shikamaru is quite good. The main reason is that the two are often punished to stand together. That's how the relationship came about. Well, I practiced too late last night, and I almost didn't get up today. Yagami Ryosuke nodded and said. Shikamaru looked at him with some surprise. Obviously he didn't expect the Night God Ryosuke to practice for a whole night. This is not like him. You seem to have changed. Shikamaru looked at him and said. Right, I feel the same way, I feel like I've grown up. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. He knew that Shikamaru was very smart, but no matter how smart he was, he would never have thought that Night God Ryosuke hadn't changed, but had awakened the memory of his previous life. Hehe, just as long as you are happy. Shikamaru laughed perfunctorily. Just at this moment, teacher Iruka also walked into the classroom. So both of them withdrew their gazes and looked at the podium in front of them. Sleepy. After listening to teacher Iruka's lecture for a while, Yagami Ryosuke suddenly felt more sleepy. Did Iruka-sensei cast some kind of illusion that would make people sleepy? Night God Ryosuke couldn't help complaining in his heart. It was not easy to get through to the end of the first class. Night God Ryosuke has a lot of mental power in an instant. With a glance, he fixed on Uzumaki Naruto, who was sitting in the front row. Yesterday it was Urzuzi, let's change to Naruto today. Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. Naruto, let's go to the bathroom. Yagami Ryosuke went straight over, patted Naruto on the shoulder and said. Me, Uzumaki Naruto is somewhat flattered to be the most unloved guy in the class. Boys go to the toilet together, that is a sign of good relationship. This is actually similar to girls. Go, Night God Ryosuke asked. Go, I happen to have urgency to pee too. Naruto scratched his scalp with a laugh, stood up quickly, and happily left the classroom with Yagami Ryosuke. Although it is not difficult to understand that it is just going to the toilet together, there is nothing to be elated about. But think of Naruto's usual treatment in the village. Night God Ryosuke can also understand. Naruto is such a nice guy. Yagami Ryosuke glanced at Naruto, who was giggling next to him, and felt emotional. If it was him himself, he would have been blackened long ago, planning how to destroy the village. As for being like Naruto, you have to let the people in the village identify with you, and then do your best for the village. Don't even think about it. Finish using the toilet. Night God Ryosuke smiled and put his arm around Naruto's shoulder. Naruto, are we good buddies? Naruto looked at Night God Ryosuke in surprise. In fact, the relationship between the two of them is normal, although because of the relationship between the tutors, Night God Ryosuke is not as hostile to Naruto as other commoners, and because Naruto is isolated, he has not been very close to each other. Occasionally, they were forced to stand together outside the classroom many times, but Yagami Ryosuke stood with Shikamaru and the others most of the time. Naruto can only be said to be familiar, but not a friend. Uzumaki Naruto is actually quite sensitive, he can feel the attitude of his classmates towards him. Most of them hate themselves. Only a very few are neither good nor bad to themselves. And Night God Ryosuke is one of the very few people who are neither good nor bad. But at this moment, the Night God Ryosuke suddenly told him that he was a buddy or something, which confused Naruto a bit. He even had a feeling that he was dreaming. Are we good buddies? Naruto asked a little uncertainly. Of course, we are the four brothers who were punished. Yagami Ryosuke said very seriously. Punishment: 4 brothers, he, Shikamaru, Naruto, plus an Inuzuka tooth. But the number of times Ya was punished to stand was far less than the 3 of them. And this guy Inuzuka Ya is quite a stinky fart, and to be honest, the relationship is relatively average. Yeah, you're right. Hearing what Night God Ryosuke said, Naruto's eyes lit up and he nodded. That's good, then you can help me on duty today, and I'll help you again when it's your turn to be on duty next time. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. Okay, Naruto agreed without thinking. After all, he is a good buddy. Helping on duty, shouldn't it be? And this scene fell into the eyes of the students passing by, looking at Naruto as if they were looking at a fool. This idiot, Yagami Ryosuke obviously doesn't want to be on duty, so he deliberately fooled you. Is Night God Ryosuke deliberately fooling Naruto? Of course not. He just didn't want people to misunderstand that he was deliberately approaching Naruto for some other purpose. And he said that he would help Naruto on duty next time, so he will definitely do so. Okay, class is about to start, let's go back to the classroom quickly. Yagami Ryosuke said with a happy smile. Of course, he was not happy because Naruto agreed to help him on duty, but because he just got a piece of Naruto's hair and stored it in the biological pheromone warehouse. This time, his number of conversions today is properly voted by Naruto. Naruto, don't let me down. We can't lose to Urzuzi. Shen Ryosuke returned to his seat, muttering silently in his heart, while taking out the hair from the warehouse, he silently recited, transformation. Next second, the golden hair in his hand disappeared instantly. At the same time, there is also a golden light shining in front of my eyes. Golden legend. Night God Ryosuke's hanging heart fell back instantly. Good. As expected of Uzumaki Naruto, there are still some faces of the first male lead. Yagami Ryosuke was happy. Ding. Single quote. Transformation succeeded. Congratulations to host for getting the talent entry. King of Mouth Dungeon Golden, Incarnation of Demon Fox Golden, Ashura's Mercy Golden. Good guy. Worthy of being one of the 2 male protagonists. The talent entries transformed from Naruto, like Uchiha Sasuke, are 3 golden legends. This time, didn't Night God Ryosuke inspire 7 golden legendary talent entries? I'll just ask, who else? Night God Ryosuke felt a little swollen. Opens the introduction to 3 new talent entries. Yagami Ryosuke looked carefully. King of Mouth escaped golden. Your language is naturally convincing. The more you express your views from the heart, the easier it is for others to agree. He is a natural-born mouth escape king. Persuasion plus 3000%. Affinity plus 1000%. Good guy. There are not many attributes, but the value is so high. Yi Shen Ryosuke looked at the information of the talent entry, Mouth Dungeon, and was amazed that the value of this entry was as high as 3000%, a full 30 times. This was something he had never encountered before. But, this talent entry does not directly improve combat effectiveness. Added as a persuasive ability in affinity. The former makes it easier for people to agree with what you say, and it will give people a feeling that, his words speak to my heart. The latter, let Yagami Ryosuke become more friendly in the eyes of others. To put it bluntly, it is to make people's first impression of you better. Certainly, if it's someone who particularly hates you, this affinity attribute probably won't help either. After all, 10 times 0 is still 0. And 10 times negative, more negative. It's not bad, but I don't seem to be the kind of person who speaks very convincingly. I don't know if I can achieve the effect of Naruto after increasing it 30 times. Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. This talent entry can only be said to be quite satisfactory. Not bad, but not enough to wow Ryosuke the Night God. So he looked at the next Fox Incarnation talent entry. Fox Incarnation, this talent entry, one can tell at a glance that it is related to the 9 tails in Naruto's body. Jinchuriki is the strongest tail beast 9 tails. Naruto has always been called the demon fox boy in the village. The incarnation of the demon fox Gold, you are the incarnation of the evil fox in the world. Your existence makes people around you fearful. Your power is enough to bring disaster to the world. Your existence is a terrible natural disaster. Chakra plus 1500%. Ninjutsu power plus 500%. Additional ability. Perception of good and evil. 15 times the increase of chakra, 5 times the power of ninjutsu. And there is an additional ability, the perception of good and evil. If Ryosuke remembers correctly, the ability to perceive good and evil is the ability of 9 tails. I can perceive the emotional changes of the people around me, whether it is evil thoughts or good thoughts, and it is clear at a glance. Yagami Ryosuke tried it, and found that most of the students in the class had kind thoughts towards him. Only a very small number of boys have some slight evil thoughts towards themselves. But not many, probably because he is jealous of his handsome looks. Can't help. Naruto's kindness towards me is so high. This guy is too easy to buy, right? Yagami Ryosuke looked at Naruto in the front seat. Naruto's kindness towards him was the highest in the whole class. Then there is Nara Shikamaru. But, to the surprise of Night God Ryosuke, Uchiha Sasuke also has kindness towards himself. He thought Urzuzi couldn't like anyone. It turns out that he is also very kind in his heart. But this guy actually has malicious intentions towards me, which I didn't expect. Yagami Ryosuke glanced at the deskmate next door. This brat invited him to play together after school yesterday. I didn't expect that. I hated myself in my heart. What about children who are innocent in their minds? What, you say this is the precocious Hokage world per capita? That's fine. The ability to sense good and evil is pretty good to use. The key is that this thing does not consume chakra. Speaking of the consumption of chakra, Night God Ryosuke also discovered it last night. Didn't he spend most of his chakra practicing ninjutsu before? Later, he found that chakra's recovery speed was a bit too fast. You should know that normally, the recovery speed of chakra of ninjas is almost the same. It is not said who is faster and who is slower, unless it is a special constitution. For example, like Senju Hashirama, or a Jinchuriki type with a super-sized power bank. For most ordinary ninjas, their chakra recovery speed is not bad when they are not taking drugs. The previous Night God Ryosuke also belonged to this category. Although he got the blood of the Uchiha family yesterday, Uchiha is the blood of the fairy eye, not the sage body. Except for Uchiha Madara, the reincarnation of Indra chakra, the recovery efficiency of other Uchiha's chakra is not much faster than that of civilian ninjas. But Night God Ryosuke found that his chakra recovery speed was about 10 times faster than before. He was puzzled at first. It was only later that I realized that the efficiency of chakra cultivation in the emotional talent entry, Spirit of Vengeance, not only increased the efficiency of refining chakra and recovery efficiency. A normal ninja's chakra basically recovers 10% in an hour. It took about 10 hours to fully recover. This is still in the case of sufficient food. And the Night God Ryosuke was originally at this speed. But now, he only needs an hour, or even less than 1 o'clock, about 50 minutes. It can be restored to a perfect state, more than 10 times faster than the original. Quite titanium. This recovery speed, Senju Hashirama is probably no more than that, right? Of course, it is also possible that the Night God Ryosuke underestimated the big pillar. Maybe Dazuzi's recovery speed is even faster than him. But no matter what, this recovery speed, as long as the number of chakra keeps up, I am afraid that Night God Ryosuke will not be short of chakra in the future. And just so, Fox Incarnation, this talent entry has added 15 times the chakra to Night God Ryosuke. Originally, Ryosuke's chakra had already reached 0.8 cards. This is in the case of a 10-fold increase. The basic chakra itself is about 0.073 cards. Now add another 25 times. It is directly 1.825 cards. Rounded up, that's 1.83 calories of chakra. It has surpassed the ordinary Jonin by a large margin. Such chakra, plus a 17% recovery rate every 10 minutes. Basically, as long as you don't use expensive ninjutsu, you can fight normally and you can directly become a perpetual motion machine. Certainly, the consumption and recovery of chakra will consume the energy of body cells. So the perpetual motion machine is only in theory. The fact is that if Ryosuke really plays like this, he will only use himself up. But even if he can't turn into a perpetual motion machine, Ryosuke's battle endurance is dozens of times that of other ninjas of the same level. You put one ninjutsu, I can put dozens of it. This advantage is great. Not to mention, Night God Ryosuke's ninjutsu is also 10 times more powerful. C-level ninjutsu, using destructive power close to S level. It can scare people to death. No, I have to learn a few more ninjutsu quickly, or I will always feel that this talent entry is too wasteful. Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. Night God Ryosuke is very satisfied with the talent entry of Fox Incarnation. Intuitively, the entry by Zuidan Wang is robbed. But, what really makes Night God Ryosuke look forward to is the last item, Ashura's Mercy. After all, when it comes to Ashura, just look at yesterday's talent entry, Indra's Resentment, which is definitely stronger than the previous 2 entries. Chances are, Sage Body is involved. Ashura's Kindness Golden, the kind Ashura always hopes to bring peace to the world with his own hands. His innocence and kindness can infect others, but sometimes he also brings trouble to himself. In his heart, he also brought him the power to change the world. Physical fitness plus 1000%. Resilience plus 1000%. Natural affinity plus 1000%. Chakra plus 1000%. Comes with Sage Body. Rao as the Night God Ryosuke is already mentally prepared. But after seeing the attributes of this talent entry, he couldn't help being stunned for a few seconds. Then I couldn't help but gasped. Hiss. So strong. Good change titanium. Chapter 11. The attributes added by the talent entry of Ashura's Mercy can be described as quite average. The 4 numerical attributes are all 1000%, and covers all aspects of the body. Physical fitness, the foundation of physical fitness. If physical fitness is not enough, physical fitness cannot be strong. Resilience, this is not sure yet, is it just pure physical recovery? It still includes self-healing ability, chakra recovery and so on. It takes Night God Ryosuke to try it himself to get the answer. As for the natural affinity, this is temporarily unavailable. But if Night God Ryosuke wants to learn Sage Mode in the future, then this attribute will be very valuable. 10 times the natural affinity, not only can speed up the speed of learning Sage Mode, but also improve the efficiency of Sage Mode activation. To put it bluntly, the speed at which you absorb natural energy is much faster than others. Moreover, the natural energy is closer to you, and it is not easy to hurt yourself when you make a mistake. And affinity for nature, which may increase the kindness of animals in nature towards you. The specific package does not include the tail beast, so it is impossible to judge for the time being. And chakra, needless to say, it has appeared twice in the previous talent entries. Adding this time, it is already the third time it has appeared. Taken together, it fully increases the number of chakra in Night God Ryosuke by 30 times. This directly makes Night God Ryosuke's current chakra reach the point of 2.2 cards. Belonging is the standard amount of chakra for elite Jonin. At least in terms of the amount of chakra, Night God Ryosuke has reached the standard of elite Jonin. But chakra does not represent strength. There are so many Naruto chakra in the early stage, but the strength is still very good. It is essentially a kind of energy, and one needs to learn how to use energy in order to exert its corresponding power. And now the ninjutsu learned by Ryosuke Night God, in addition to the basic ninjutsu of 3-body technique. It's just a water style. The water is turbulent, but this follow-up can be learned, don't worry. At last, it is the sage body attached to this talent entry. After the talent entry was equipped on Night God Ryosuke, he has already felt the physical changes. Not intense, but a subtle change. It takes a while to transition. But don't have to wait long. Night God Ryosuke feels that after sleeping almost at night, his sage body can completely integrate with his current physique. And even then, Night God Ryosuke can still feel that the chakra in his body is growing slowly. This means that the cell activity of Ryosuke is increasing. The essence of life is evolving. Sage body and good physical fitness are actually two different concepts. Owners of sage body do not necessarily have strong physical fitness. But you can live longer, recover faster from injuries, and even be immune to all kinds of poisons and diseases. These are the standard configurations of sage body. And this is actually the evolution of life. Just like humans evolved from single cells to multi-cells, then gradually evolved into mammals, and finally became the only intelligent overlord on this planet. Evolution is a necessary process for the reproduction of life. And at this moment, this evolution is happening to Ryosuke, the Night God. And the time axis has been shortened countless times. Similar to what was forced on him. It feels so comfortable and a little sleepy. Yagami Ryosuke yawned. He wasn't sure if he was sleepy because he didn't have a good rest last night, or because of the changes in his body now. But he really wanted to go back to sleep now. Then, Yagami Ryosuke took a peek at the teacher on the podium. The teacher of this class is not Iruka, but another character, Mizuki. Compared with the serious and responsible Iruka, Mizuki is more like watching people cook. And the penultimate student of 10,000 years like Night God Ryosuke. Mizuki basically didn't care whether he was listening carefully in class or whether he was sleeping. Then sleep for a class. Yagami Ryosuke lay down on the table and quickly fell asleep. Ryosuke, wake up. In a daze, Yagami Ryosuke felt that someone was pushing him. So he woke up rubbing his eyes. It turns out that standing in front of him is Shikamaru. Is school over? Night God Ryosuke asked. Shikamaru stared at him with dead fish eyes, speechless. No, class is about to start. This class is teacher Iruka's class. That's it. Yagami Ryosuke rubbed his eyes and said to Shikamaru, I was too sleepy just now, thank you for waking me up, Shikamaru. Shikamaru nodded casually, then returned to his seat. Soon, teacher Iruka walked into the classroom. He saw the sleepy-eyed Ryosuke at a glance, and shook his head in secret disappointment. Okay, let's all go back to our seats and sit down, let's start the class. This class we are going to talk about 3-body technique. Iruka tapped on the blackboard and said to everyone, I have covered almost everything I need to talk about 3-body technique. This class is mainly to check everyone's learning of transformation technique. Next, the person whose name I reported will come up to demonstrate. Check transformation technique learning. Night God Ryosuke subconsciously looked at Naruto in the front row. This guy wouldn't be able to seduce technique with that. Iruka read the names of the students in the class one by one, and those whose names were read also went up to show their learning progress. Those students from families basically got a good high score. The students of civilian origin are mixed. Some got high marks, but not many. Most of them just passed the passing line. Next, Night God Ryosuke. Uruka read to the list. Yagami Ryosuke got up from his seat and walked towards the front podium. Ryosuke, come on. When passing by Naruto, Naruto also said cheers to Night God Ryosuke. Night God Ryosuke also nodded, and then stood in front of Uruka. Relax, don't be too nervous, just like normal practice. Uruka said. Uruka-sensei, I'm not nervous either. Yagami Ryosuke said. Let's begin then. Uruka nodded. It's best not to be nervous, but based on his understanding of the Night God Ryosuke, whether the kid's transformation technique can pass is a problem. But the next second, Uruka looked in surprise at the Night God Ryosuke, who had transformed into himself in the blink of an eye, and couldn't help but widen his eyes. Boom! White smoke drifted away. Night God Ryosuke changed back to his own form. Is it all right, Teacher Uruka? Night God Ryosuke asked. Uruka nodded subconsciously, followed Lao Wai and looked at the Night God Ryosuke in front of him comfortingly. Even the sleepy appearance of Night God Ryosuke before, in Uruka's eyes at the moment, it must be caused by practicing too late last night, not watching TV too late as he thought before. This kid is really working hard to cultivate silently. I was the one who wrongly blamed him before. Uruka thought, feeling a little ashamed of being narrow-minded before. Night God Ryosuke, full marks. Uruka loudly announced the results of Night God Ryosuke, then looked at him with relief and said. Continue to work hard in the future, the teacher believes that you can do it. Yagami Ryosuke thinks that Mr. Uruka may have misunderstood something. But he will not take the initiative to explain. Then teacher, I'll go down first. Yagami Ryosuke said, then turned and returned to his seat. On the way, other students looked at him with surprised eyes. It was like meeting him for the first time. When Night God Ryosuke returned to his seat and sat down, his deskmate also looked at him in surprise and said, Ryosuke, why did your transformation technique become so powerful all of a sudden? What all of a sudden? That's the result of my hard work. Night God Ryosuke said lightly. It turns out that you said to practice, it is true. The deskmate was even more surprised. Of course. Yagami Ryosuke said. Next door, Shikamaru looked at Night God Ryosuke with a thoughtful look in his eyes. Seems to understand something. Ryosuke, have you found your purpose in life? Shikamaru thought. In this class, the most eye-catching performance is undoubtedly the Night God Ryosuke. This, even Uchiha Sasuke, who also got a full score, couldn't do it. After all, one is a good student who gets full marks every time. And the other one was a former scumbag who suddenly got full marks. Which one is more eye-catching is self-evident. Naruto, I'm counting on you for today's duty. I still have something to do. I'll treat you to ramen next time. Let's go first. After school, Yagami Ryosuke found Naruto, said something to him, and left in a hurry. And Naruto is also scratching his head with a smile, still very happy. Ryosuke actually invited me to eat ramen, it's great. Naruto was secretly excited. After all, it's been a while since he's had delicious Ichiraku ramen. The main reason is that this month's living expenses have been spent almost. And Ichiraku ramen isn't cheap either. The remaining money is only enough to eat instant noodles every day. Idiot, after being sold, he is still counting the money. At this time, a discordant voice suddenly came from behind. Naruto looked back and found that it was a male student in the class. What are you looking at, you fox boy? The other party gave Naruto a vicious look. Naruto, who was still very happy just now, also changed his face at this time, lowered his head silently, and clenched his hands into fists. It's that look again. Single quote. Why are they always like this? I'm obviously wrong. Single quote. Naruto felt as if someone had grabbed his heart, his chest was tight and uncomfortable, and he couldn't breathe. At this time, hey, get out of the way, get out of the way. A cold voice came. With his hands in his pockets, Uchiha Sasuke looked at the boy coldly with an indifferent face. Huh, oh. The boy who was still very arrogant just now, facing Uchiha Sasuke, the head student in the class, can't be hardened at all. He quickly moved out of his seat and let Uchiha Sasuke pass by. At the end of the crane, what are you still doing here? Uchiha Sasuke ignored him, walked directly in front of him, and then glanced at Naruto, who was standing there motionless, feeling a little upset. If someone dared to talk to him like that, he would definitely teach him a lesson. But Uzumaki Naruto didn't say a word. Sure enough, it was the tail of the crane. It was really useless. Uchiha Sasuke looked disgusted. HMPH. Sasuke, I'm happy to stand here, I want you to take care of me. Naruto raised his head and spoke viciously at Uchiha Sasuke. Idiot. Uchiha Sasuke glanced at Naruto indifferently, then walked around him directly and walked towards the outside of the classroom. Hey, fart Sasuke, who are you calling an idiot? Naruto shouted unconvinced. However, Sasuke didn't pay attention to Naruto anymore, and left the classroom directly. Cut. Sasuke, he knows how to be handsome on purpose all day long. Naruto beeped softly. I don't know why, other people scolded him and hated him, but Naruto would just endure silently, asking himself why over and over again in his heart. But if it was Sasuke, he didn't seem to feel so uncomfortable, but he couldn't help but go back. After it was over, I still felt a little happy in my heart. Really weird, I'm back. Yagami Ryosuke hurried home, changed his slippers at the entrance, and then hurried upstairs. This child. Yagami Mizuki looked at her son who disappeared in a blink of an eye, and shook her head with a smile. The son who was always lazy in the past has become agitated these 2 days. But children, personality changes like the weather. Not sure. On the second floor, in the storage room, Night God Ryosuke rummaged through the pile of things left by his father, and finally found a scroll that recorded shadow clone technique among a pile of scrolls. Found it. Night God Ryosuke's eyes lit up, and he picked up the scroll. As long as you have learned Shadow Clone, when the time comes to learn knowledge like ninjutsu, you can let Shadow Clone replace it. As for myself, I just need to practice some physical skills and refine chakra. Night God Ryosuke's father was also a special jonin anyway. Knowing Shadow Clone technique is also normal. It's just that this scroll was piled up in this pile of relics, and yesterday's Night God Ryosuke was too excited to remember it, so he forgot it. But today, he finally remembered the existence of this scroll. So I ran back in a hurry. Shadow Clone technique is AB level ninjutsu, and it is not easy to practice, but I just got Sage Body, and my ability to learn ninjutsu should be improved compared to before. It doesn't matter, let's try it first. Holding the scroll of Shadow Clone technique, Night God Ryosuke returned to his room. To practice Shadow Clone technique, you don't need to go outside, you can practice it in your room. The requirements for the venue are very low. In the room, Night God Ryosuke unfolded the scroll of Shadow Clone technique, then opened 2 Tomo Sharingan directly, and copied the above content. Understood. It turned out that this method was used to spread chakra on the Shadow Clone. Night God Ryosuke suddenly realized. The next thing is to try to successfully use the Shadow Clone technique. This is more difficult. For a ninja with average ninjutsu talent, it will take at least 10 days and a half months to make progress in practicing this B-level ninjutsu. If the ninjutsu talent is good, then it can be barely used in 2 or 3 days. Only that kind of true genius. It is possible to learn after practicing a few times. And judging from how Shen Ryosuke practiced Mizuranbo yesterday, his ninjutsu talent can only be regarded as a little better than average. There is still a long way to go before genius. But, compared to his once poor talent, there has been quite a bit of improvement. Apparently, that's because of the Uchiha bloodline. And now, Night God Ryosuke is back with Sage Body. Therefore, his talent should have improved again, but I don't know how long it will take to learn B-level ninjutsu, which is a level higher than C-level ninjutsu. 2 days, or 3 days. Drink. Shadow Clone technique. Night God Ryosuke quickly formed seals with both hands. The 6 prints took more than 2 seconds to complete. Boom! A cloud of white smoke billowed up beside him. When the white smoke dissipated, there was nothing inside. Failed. Night God Ryosuke did not disappoint. It's normal to fail the first time. If it succeeds all at once, it will be unreasonable. Continue. Anyway, if the Shadow Clone technique is not successful, it will not consume much chakra. Plus Night God Ryosuke's amazing recovery ability. You can almost keep practicing until you get tired. Then, next, Night God Ryosuke began to constantly try to use Shadow Clone technique. Start at 4 o'clock when you get home. Yagami Mizuki called him downstairs for dinner, and after a full hour and a half, Yagami Ryosuke himself didn't know how many times he used the shadow clone technique. But the best time, it was nothing more than a mini shadow clone, and I was afraid that it would be so soft that it couldn't stand up at all. After going downstairs for dinner, Yagami Ryosuke returned to the upstairs room to continue practicing shadow clone technique. I practiced for another 2 hours or so. Night God Ryosuke finally separated a normal-sized shadow clone. It's just that the shadow clone barely lasted for a few seconds before dissipating with a bang. Not to mention the failure, it also wasted a lot of chakra from Ryosuke, the night god. Forget it, go to the yard to practice climbing trees first. If you want to use shadow clone, practice tomorrow. Repeatedly practicing a ninjutsu, night god Ryosuke also felt a little boring. He's not the kind of person who can hold back and do one thing. It's hard to survive for 3.5 hours. But the chakra in Ryosuke's body is still very abundant. This is not only because of the 10 times increased chakra recovery ability, but also because the sage body that Ryosuke is evolving has also brought Ryosuke even better chakra recovery ability. The superposition of the two makes the night god Ryosuke practice until now, but the chakra in the body is still very abundant. I don't even feel physically tired. Certainly, this may have something to do with the resilience added to the talent item Ashura's Mercy. Night God Ryosuke can now basically confirm that the recovery effect of increased recovery has nothing to do with chakra. For the time being, it can only be seen that the recovery effect on physical strength has indeed been improved. As for the others, we have to observe and observe. So sleepy. In classrooms, Yagami Ryosuke yawned so much that he was so dazed that he couldn't even keep his eyes open. There is no way, because he was too excited last night, he suffered from insomnia again. Although I was tired mentally, I didn't feel tired physically at all. On the one hand, it is 10 times the recovery power. Even if Ryosuke only slept for about 3 hours, it is enough to recover the physical strength consumed by practicing until midnight last night. On the other hand, it was also because of one night of evolution. Now the sage body of night god Ryosuke has been fully formed. The basic chakra in the body has increased by more than 10 times. Reached about 1.2 cards. This is just the basic chakra. Night god Ryosuke also has several chakra enhancements for talent entries, which have a full 35-fold amplification effect. In one fell swoop, Ryosuke's real chakra reached an astonishing 43.2 cards. Although this is still a long way from Naruto's 100 cards when he graduated. But the sage body of night god Ryosuke has not stopped evolving. In fact, night god Ryosuke's current sage body can only be regarded as a primary sage body. There are 3 levels of intermediate sage body, advanced sage body, and sage of 6 paths. Such as Senju Hashirama, is the advanced sage body. The legendary ninja ancestor Sage of 6 Paths is the body of Sage of 6 Paths and the ancestor of Sage body. As for Otsutsuki Kagaya, that's already another constitution. It's not clear what it's called. Anyway, Sage body is more high-end than this. If Ryosuke's Sage body can grow to the intermediate Sage body level, then his chakra will increase by about 10 times on this basis. And the advanced Sage body is 10 times that of the intermediate Sage body. That is, the night god Ryosuke is now 100 times. To know, Yagami Ryosuke is only a 10-year-old child, and his body is still growing. When he becomes an adult, the chakra in his body will reach a peak. At that time, the chakra was at least 10 times higher than it is now. That is to say, even if Ryosuke's junior sage body no longer improves a little bit, as long as he becomes an adult, the current chakra will still increase by 10 times. What is that concept? Chakra with at least 500 calories. At that time, chakra can no longer be used to describe it. But Cha-Tun pulled it. But the restorative power of sage body and talent entries seems to have little effect on the recovery of mental power. So much so that Yishen Ryosuke is not physically tired at all now, but he feels very sleepy mentally, with a feeling of being ecstatic. I have to learn the shadow clone technique as soon as possible. When the time comes to practice ninjutsu, I can hand it over to shadow clone, so I don't have to be so tired. As for the fatigue after the shadow clone was taken back, night god Ryosuke 10 times the resilience of primary sage body, do you think you are joking? Uzumaki Naruto can't even do a serious sage body. How about an authentic sage body like Yagami Ryosuke? The ninja school has 3 classes in the morning. From the first class at 8:30 in the morning to the end of the third class at 11 o'clock noon. Then there is an hour and a half lunch break at noon. Eat lunch, take a break, chat with classmates or something. However, Ryosuke, the night god, chose to use it to catch up on sleep. After a quick lunch, Yagami Ryosuke lay down on the table and quickly fell asleep. This made Naruto, who originally planned to come and play with him, could only sit back resentfully. Why is Ryosuke so sleepy every day? Is this why his grades have improved? Is he practicing secretly at night? Naruto, who returned to his seat, thought about whether he should also work hard at night, so that he would not be the tail end of every exam. It's embarrassing. Okay, he Uzumaki Naruto also wants to save face. Do you think it's fun to be called the tail of a crane all day long? Especially the fart Sasuke, who always calls him the tail of the crane. Even if Naruto doesn't care what others call him, but Sasuke is definitely not. Okay, then it's decided, starting tonight, practice the 3-body technique at home. The other side, Shikamaru turned his head and noticed that Yamanaka Ino next to him was looking at the night god Ryosuke, who was sleeping over there, and couldn't help asking, "Ino, what do you think Ryosuke is sleeping for?" "It's nothing, I'm just curious, does Yi-Shen practice late at home every night? Otherwise, why do you always look so sleepy at school?" There was a curious gleam in Yamanaka Ino's eyes. In fact, at the beginning of school, Yamanaka Ino noticed the most handsome boy in the class, Yamanaka Ryosuke. It's a pity that night god Ryosuke's performance in terms of performance is a mess. There is no way to compare with Uchiha Sasuke, who is the second handsomest in the class. But even so, Yamanaka Ino of the beauty party has always been paying attention to night god Ryosuke. This attention lasts for 4 years. But Ryosuke's performance has not improved in the past 4 years. The sense of presence in the class is also declining day by day. Even a good-looking party like Yamanaka Ino can't help but whisper in his heart sometimes. Secretly feel sorry for the night god Ryosuke. Even though she looks so good-looking, why is her talent so messed up? But, these 2 days Ino found that night god Ryosuke has changed. Although he still sleeps in class, yesterday's transformation technique assessment made Ino's eyes light up, as if he could see the moon when the clouds opened. Shikamaru on the side looked at Ino suspiciously, and then said casually, "Ryosuke probably found some purpose in life. My father often told me that once a person finds his purpose in life, he changes his life." Started. "Is that so?" Ino nodded, half understanding. "But, that's fine. Ryosuke-kun, please do your best." Ino silently cheered for night god Ryosuke. 12:30 p.m. The first lesson. Yagami Ryosuke stretched and woke up. "I felt more refreshed after I fell asleep. Student Yagami, we are going to gather at the playground." At this time, Ino passed by, reminding night god Ryosuke. Gather at the playground. Yagami Ryosuke was stunned for a moment and asked, "Do you want to practice shuriken throwing in this class?" "No. Mr. Iruka said that it will be due in 2 more months, so this class is to test our overall learning progress. It's time for actual combat training," Ino said. "Student Yagami, can you do it?" Ino looked at night god Ryosuke and asked him. "Pair practice. Of course, no problem." Yagami Ryosuke nodded with a smile, then stood up from his seat and said, "Let's go, or if you're late, teacher Iruka will teach you again." "Well, let's go together," Ino said with a smile. Soon, the two came to the playground of the ninja school. Except for the 2 of them, all the students in Class A of the 4th grade have arrived. Ryosuke, here, not far away, Naruto, standing under a tree, waved at night god Ryosuke. "I've passed." Night god Ryosuke spoke to Ino, and then walked towards Naruto. "Naruto, you look excited," Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. "How is it? Are you confident in today's duel training?" Hearing this, Naruto smiled and lifted his goggles. "Of course, although my grades in the written test are always at the bottom, but when it comes to practice, I won't admit defeat. In fact, Naruto's battle practice results are not bad. Can be ranked in the middle of the class. But other than that, his other achievements are a mess. It directly led to his bottom 1 ranking. As for Yagami Ryosuke before, his grades in other subjects were better than Naruto's. But in the battle practice, he was almost at the bottom of the class. Never made it past the first round anyway. Belongs to a round of players. At this time, Iruka also came over with a scoreboard. Okay, everyone is here, right? I'll call the person with the name to come up and practice the battle later. Iruka glanced at the groups he had arranged. The first group, Beijing Luren vs Chongbian Longtao. Two ordinary-looking boys walked out quickly. Not the seal of opposition, shouted Iruka. The two boys rushed towards each other instantly after forming seals, followed by an operation like ordinary children fighting. It's really hot on the eyes. Night God Ryosuke shook his head secretly. This kind of role is destined to fail to graduate. Maybe I won't be a jonin for the rest of my life. But if it wasn't for the Night God Ryosuke who awakened the memory of his previous life and obtained the talent entry system, he is not much better than these two boys. Soon, the two boys who were fighting like children decided the winner. Then Iruka continued to call the name of the next group. During the period, Shikamaru was also arranged to fight an unfamiliar player. Not surprisingly, Shikamaru won easily. Fifth team, Night God Ryosuke vs Hyuga Hinata. Ryosuke, it's your turn. Naruto on the side looked even more excited than Night God Ryosuke himself. Night God Ryosuke turned his head and glanced at the white-eyed girl not far away. Shall I fight Hinata? Night God Ryosuke thinks that this is probably arranged by Iruka on purpose, because Night God Ryosuke's performance in duel training is always in the bottom 3 in the class. And Hyuga Hinata itself is not weak, but because of his personality, his performance in couplets has not been very good. Hinata's words, just right, you can get a copy of the white-eyed princess's biological pheromones, and the talent entries converted by then should not be bad. Night God Ryosuke thought to himself, and one side also walked to the field and stood still. Ryosuke, come on. Off the court, Naruto loudly cheered for Night God Ryosuke. But apart from Naruto, no one is optimistic about the Night God Ryosuke. Although Hinata has not been very good in duel practice because of his personality. But no matter how bad it is, it's not like Ryosuke, the Night God, who can play in the bottom 3 all the year round. Even if Hinata is merciful, it is impossible for Night God Ryosuke to win. Therefore, except for Naruto, who has a single-minded head, even people like Ino and Shikamaru are not very optimistic about this battle practice. Not the seal of opposition, shouted Iruka. Night God Ryosuke looked at Hinata on the opposite side, made mudras with both hands, and nodded at him. Mr. Ryosuke. Hinata looked anxiously at the opposite Night God Ryosuke, and after finishing the seal of opposition, he didn't make any moves for a long time. Hinata, don't be nervous, we can just practice normally, you don't have to worry about hurting me. Seeing Hinata being so nervous, Yagami Ryosuke also spoke. Okay, I see. Hinata nodded, followed by taking a deep breath, and then her eyes became serious. Then, it's time to go. Yagami Ryosuke yelled. Next second, his body rushed forward in an instant, extremely fast. This speed, Iruka, who was on the side as the referee, couldn't help opening his eyes wide at this time, looking at the moving speed of Night God Ryosuke in disbelief. Ordinary official genin don't have such a speed. At this time, even though Night God Ryosuke didn't mobilize the chakra in his body much, but with the blessing of 10 times his physical fitness, his speed is still a bit faster than the normal official genin. And Hinata, who had just gotten serious, couldn't help feeling nervous again at this moment. Shua, Night God Ryosuke rushed in front of Hinata, twisted his waist, and instantly hit Hinata with a side kick. Boom! Hinata quickly raised his hand to block, and subconsciously slapped Night God Ryosuke's chest. Swish! Night God Ryosuke twisted to avoid it, and at the same time punched with his right hand. His physique is actually pretty average. Without professional training, it is purely a good physical fitness. And at this time, after subconscious counterattack, Hinata quickly entered the state. The two fought back and forth. One has better physical fitness, the other has studied systematically and has better skills. For a while, the two sides turned out to be evenly divided. When did Yagami's physical skills become so powerful? Oh my god, I feel that if I replace Hyuga-san with myself, I might not be able to survive Yagami-san's 10 moves. Didn't you think Hyuga-san's physical skills are so good? Why didn't you see it before? The one who really went too far is Yagami, right? He obviously couldn't even beat me in the last battle practice, but now I feel that I am no match for him at all. Student Yi Shen must be practicing hard at home. No wonder he is so sleepy when he comes to school every day. It must be because he practiced too late at night. Student Yagami, so handsome, quote question mark question mark question mark quote. No, we are talking about strength, you said he is so handsome. You nympho. All the students outside the field were surprised to see the two people fighting back and forth on the field. Whether it was the performance of Night God Ryosuke or Hyuga Hinata, they were very surprised. Certainly. In contrast, some ninja-born students were not so surprised by Hyuga Hinata's strength performance, but they were very shocked by the improvement shown by Night God Ryosuke. This guy. Has he been secretly working hard? Uchiha Sasuke, who was leaning on a tree trunk with his arms folded, looked at the figure on the field and thought silently in his heart. HMPH. But it's useless if it's just this level. As the chief student in the class, Uchiha Sasuke naturally has the pride of being a chief student. Although Yi Shen Ryosuke's performance is enough to be described as a remarkable improvement, but this improvement is simply a joke in the face of absolute strength. At least, Uchiha Sasuke never worried that Night God Ryosuke could shake his position as chief student. Crack, Yagami-san, you really worked hard. Choji muttered while eating potato chips. Wah, Ryosuke has caught up before you know it. Shikamaru held the back of his head with his hands, and his eyes showed a rare serious look. Do you work hard in exchange for rewards? But, that's too tiring. Shikamaru couldn't help shaking his head after thinking about it. If you try so hard, he can't do it. With that time, it would be more interesting to play more games of chess. Ryosuke, that's great. Ino's cheeks were flushed, and he looked obsessed. Shikamaru glanced sideways and muttered, trouble, to himself. Shua. The figure retreated. Yagami Ryosuke and Hinata stopped at a distance of 10 meters. Unnoticed, a strand of Hinata's hair was tucked between his fingers, but it disappeared quickly. It was taken into the biological pheromone warehouse by Night God Ryosuke. Successful, Night God Ryosuke thought. At this time, Hinata on the opposite side also took a few breaths, looking a little exhausted. On the other hand, Ryosuke, the Night God, still breathes smoothly, and he doesn't look tired at all. Sage body, everyone who has used it says it is good. Hinata, are you okay? Night God Ryosuke asked. It's okay, I can do it. Hinata regained her breath and said. Then continue. Yagami Ryosuke smiled slightly. Hinata looked cute when he was serious. She's so cute unlike usual. Next, I will use all my strength. Yagami Ryosuke said. Next moment, the chakra in his body erupted instantly, which doubled the speed and strength of Night God Ryosuke. Ninjas, even taijutsu ninjas, are fundamentally comparable to chakra. The taijutsu ninjas in the Hokage world, no matter how much you practice, it is impossible to practice like those taijutsu monsters in one piece. A kunai can easily take the life of a taijutsu ninja. But if you have a powerful enough chakra, then you can let chakra bless your physical skills, so that chakra spreads all over the body, not only can form an effective protection, but also your speed and strength will be doubled. For example, in Forbidden Technique, 8 inner gates, every time a gate is opened, the chakra in the body will skyrocket. Supplemented with the corresponding physical skills, a terrifying destructive power can be erupted. For example, the peacock at the 6th gate and the day tiger at the 7th gate. Even Night Guy from 8 gate. They are all extremely sublimated, high explosive physical moves like instant meteors. But this kind of advanced skill, Night God Ryosuke does not know. He will simply explode the chakra in his body to increase his speed and power. But even if it's just like this, it's more than enough to deal with a group of ninja school students. No way. Who makes Night God Ryosuke have more chakra? To know. At this stage, even the chakra that Naruto can use is far inferior to the Night God Ryosuke. Because most of Naruto's chakra is used to suppress the seal gap of 9 tails. This part of chakra is almost 96% of his total chakra. The remaining 4% is what Naruto can usually mobilize. And these 4% are so disobedient. This led to the poor use of Naruto's clone technique. I can't learn no matter how I always learn. Blind eyes, open. On the field, the veins around Hinata's eyes burst suddenly, and chakra quickly flowed in the white eyes, and then instantly caught the night god Ryosuke appearing in the direction behind him. 8 trigrams, 16 palms. With a wave of both arms, Hinata instantly set off a small whirlwind, followed his body, and instantly slapped the night god Ryosuke who was attacking from behind. 1 palm, 2 palms, 3 palms. Hinata's movements passed quickly, and in just an instant, he hit 16 palms, all of which hit the body of the night god Ryosuke in front of him. 1. People around watched with wide eyes. Secretly feel sorry for the night god Ryosuke. Even though he had performed so well, he still lost. Just the next second, boom, Ryosuke, who was hit by 8 trigrams 16 palms in front of him, suddenly turned into a piece of wood in a cloud of white smoke. Body replacement technique. The students outside the field couldn't help exclaiming. No one found out when Ryosuke made the body replacement technique handprint, and at the same time, no one found out where he himself was hiding. And at this moment, when Hinata was watching this scene in surprise, a handful of wooden kunai also pressed against her white jade neck. Hinata, you lost. Night god Ryosuke appeared behind Hinata and whispered in her ear. Ah, Hinata was taken aback. This shouldn't be. After all, Hinata has a 360-degree viewing angle after opening her eyes. Even if night god Ryosuke came out from the most tricky angle, Hinata would still find out. But just now Hinata was attracted too much attention by the scene in front of him, so that he ignored the night god Ryosuke who appeared from behind. In addition, the speed of Ryosuke, the night god, was so fast that she couldn't react. To put it bluntly, Hinata's combat experience is too poor. He was distracted before the battle was completely over, and was found by night god Ryosuke. Night god Ryosuke, win. At this time, Mr. Iruka outside the court also announced the result of this battle. After hearing the result announced by Mr. Iruka, Hinata also had a look of disappointment on his face. Lost. Hinata couldn't help feeling a little depressed. At this time, a hand was placed on her shoulder. Hinata looked up just in time to meet Ryosuke's eyes. You played very well just now, your strength is very strong. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. Ah, this, Ryosuke-kun is. Hinata hesitated to speak, and her cheeks began to turn red visible to the naked eye. Don't be too nervous, we are classmates, aren't we? Yagami Ryosuke said, you're just too nervous, otherwise you would have played better. Hinata blushed and said nothing. She didn't know what to say, her nervous heart beat faster, as if it was about to jump out of her body. Fortunately, at this time, the night god Ryosuke let go and made a seal of reconciliation. When Hinata saw it, he hurriedly made a seal of reconciliation. Then the two left the stage and gave up their seats to other students. Ryosuke, you were too good just now. Yagami Ryosuke looked at Naruto who was gesticulating with both hands in front of him, and said, come on, with a smile. Well, I'm sure I won't lose to Ryosuke you. Ryosuke, just watch. I'll definitely be able to beat my opponent to the ground in 2 or 3 hits later. Naruto waved his fist excitedly, jumping up and down. The 7th group, Uzumaki Naruto vs Inuzuka Teeth. Hearing Mr. Iruka calling him, Naruto grinned at the night god Ryosuke next to him, gave a thumbs up, and then ran over with a smile. Come on, you guy who takes the dog to school, watch how I beat you to the ground. Naruto shouted arrogantly. On the opposite side of him, Inuzuka's eyes widened angrily. My name is Inuzuka Iba, and I don't take dogs to school. Also, his name is Akamaru. Akamaru, are you right? Wow, Akamaru on Inuzuka's head yelled and agreed. He also said that he didn't bring a dog. You were chatting with the dog. It's very problematic at first sight. Naruto pouted and said, okay, you too. Teacher Iruka said helplessly. He was afraid that if he didn't interrupt again, the two guys would quarrel until the end of the class. Hurry up and form the seal of opposition, and start. Seeing that Mr. Iruka got angry, Naruto and Inuzuka Tooth did not dare to continue to brush treasures. Immediately finished the seal of opposites, and then rushed towards each other shouting at each other. For other students who have just watched a high-level battle, watching Naruto and Inuzuka Teeth like ordinary people fighting like ordinary people on the field at this time, suddenly feel very boring. Uchiha Sasuke even lost interest after glancing at it, and then stared straight at Night God Ryosuke over there. This guy's speed just now may not even be able to handle me. If you want to beat him, you must distance yourself from him. Uchiha Sasuke thought about the tactics for later. As for whether the two can meet, there is no doubt about this. After all, in Uchiha Sasuke's view, the strength of the Night God Ryosuke in the entire class is a bit worth seeing. Others are not qualified to let him fight seriously. Night God Ryosuke, I hope you don't let me down. Uchiha Sasuke looked at the Night God Ryosuke over there, and he was already looking forward to the battle later in his heart. And at this time, Yagami Ryosuke also looked towards this side with a sense of feeling, just in time to see Uchiha Sasuke's eyes full of fighting spirit. Zuzi is excited now. Yagami Ryosuke secretly finds it funny, as arrogant as Uchiha Sasuke, he never looked down on other people at work in the past. What a pity. You are destined to lose to me, I hope that won't hurt you. Even if it is really hit, Night God Ryosuke will not deliberately release water. After all, he is not a dutiful son Itachi. Naruto, you lost. Inuzuka put Naruto's hands on his back and his knees on his back and said with a grin. Let me go, let's fight again, Naruto shouted unconvinced. Too bad it didn't work. Inuzuka Kibikatsu. Teacher Iruka directly announced the result of this round. Haha, I told you a long time ago, Naruto, you can't beat me. Inuzuka let go of Naruto triumphantly, and the two made a seal of reconciliation. HMPH, I will beat you next time. Naruto snorted unconvinced after finishing the seal of reconciliation, turned his head and walked back angrily. Haha, Naruto won't be able to defeat me in this life, because I am Inuzuka Kiba. Are you right, Akamaru? Wow, the smug laugh made Naruto feel even more uncomfortable. Obviously just told Ryosuke that he will definitely win beautifully. But in the end he lost to Inuzuka Ya. This made Naruto feel bad. Not only because of losing to Inuzuka, but also because he failed to fulfill his promise to his friends. At this moment, Night God Ryosuke looked at Naruto, who looked depressed, and also walked over and patted him on the shoulder. It's okay to lose this time, just win back next time. He said, Ryosuke, you were right, I will definitely not lose to that guy next time. Naruto is worthy of being Naruto. Night God Ryosuke just comforted him, and he immediately revived with full blood. Certainly, this may also be due to the fact that Night God Ryosuke's talent item, Mouth Dungeon, has played some role. After all, 30 times the persuasive power is not a joke. Next, there is nothing to watch in other people's competitions. The one that included Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino was nothing to watch either. Although Ino didn't like Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura didn't fall out with her because of Sasuke. But there seems to be a falling out between the two because of something else. So much so that the good girlfriends in the past have become the deadly enemies who will mock each other when they meet each other. I don't know if Teacher Iruka did it on purpose. In the past, Naruto and Inuzuka were arranged together, and now Haruno Sakura and Ino are arranged together. Unexpectedly, Mr. Iruka, who is honest and honest on the surface, has such a wicked taste behind his back. Yagami Ryosuke glanced at Mr. Iruka, who was holding the list with a serious face. Behind his serious face, he seemed to see a face whose mouth was grinning to the bottom of the ears. The other side, Iruka, who was standing on the sidelines, sneezed suddenly. Heish, strange, do you have a cold? Iruka rubbed his nose, thinking. System, transform this hair in my hand. Taking advantage of no one's attention here, Night God Ryosuke also took out Hinata's hair, pinched it in his hand, and silently communicated with the system in his heart, converting it into a talent entry. Ding. Single quote. Transformation succeeded. Congratulations to host for getting the talent entry. White-eyed Princess Purple. ? There is none left. Night God Ryosuke heard the system prompt in his head. He was used to transforming 3 talent entries at once, and he couldn't adapt for a while. Can Hinata only transform 1 talent entry? And it's still purple, not the golden entries like Naruto and Sasuke. It's a notch lower in level. However, this is probably the normal situation. Naruto and Sasuke are special treatment for the protagonists. The key is that they also have Ashura and Indra's chakra on them. If you only look at themselves, they are actually 2. It's just a talent entry. Yagami Ryosuke understands that Hinata's situation is actually normal. Transforming 3 talent entries at once is a special case. It cannot be generalized. But, why does it feel a bit weird to put this talent entry of White-Eyed Princess on her body? Night God Ryosuke felt a little awkward. Princess White Eyes Purple Pure white eyes make you born with extraordinary potential, and the family will be honored because of you. Please try hard to develop your eyes, maybe it will bring you unexpected surprises. White Eyes Observation Distance plus 200%. White Eye Purity plus 200%. Comes with White Eyes Blood Succession Limit Hyuga Bloodline. The purple talent entry is indeed much worse than the gold one. Seeing this new talent entry, to be honest, after looking at the attributes of the golden talent entry and getting used to it, I feel a little psychologically disappointed when I look at this again. But, Night God Ryosuke will not dislike it. It can only be said that the talent entries transformed in the previous 2 days are too good. He needs to adapt to the next changes. Hinata's White-Eyed Princess entry has already been calculated. If it is the talent entry on some other dragon set, I'm afraid it's even hard to be green. There is a high probability that it is just a white garbage entry. Talent entries like that can only be broken down into experience points. And purple talent entries like White-Eyed Princess. Night God Ryosuke will definitely not be disassembled. No matter how you say it, you can also give yourself one more blood inheritance limit. Moreover, the purity of the white eyes has been doubled. By then, the purity of the white eyes will not be much inferior to Hinata, the real White-Eyed Princess, right? If you go to the interior of the moon in the future, you may have the opportunity to open Tensagen. Those were eyes of the same level as Rinnegan's. And, in terms of pure destructive power, Tensagen is somewhat stronger than Rinnegan. Rinnegan's main advantage is that it is more comprehensive and has many functions. As for Tensagen, it feels like it was born purely for destruction and destruction. Equip it with the entry of White-Eyed Princess. Yagami Ryosuke also felt his eyes were icy cold, which was very comfortable. After a while, this feeling disappeared. There is another kind of blood inheritance limit on the body. Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. The first round of combat practice is over. The winner will soon start the second round of competition. Those who have been eliminated can only stand on the sidelines and watch the excitement at this time. There is no way to participate in the next competition. Night God Ryosuke's opponent in the second round is Ino. However, when Ino saw that his opponent was Night God Ryosuke, he directly chose to admit defeat. Ryosuke-kun is so strong, I'm sure I can't beat him, it's better to admit defeat directly, so as not to be ashamed. Ino said with a smile. There was no sign of being unhappy at all. Instead, he took the opportunity to go to Night God Ryosuke and chat with him. 10 minutes later. Next is the last match, Night God Ryosuke vs Uchiha Sasuke. Before they knew it, everyone else had already lost. The only ones left are Night God Ryosuke and Uchiha Sasuke. One of them is the second child of the past 10,000 years. One is the head student of the class for 4 consecutive years. No matter how you look at it, it is not the same level. But Ryosuke's performance today is remarkable, and people are looking forward to what kind of battle between dragons and tigers will be staged in this game. Come on, the battle ahead is really boring, I hope you won't let me down. Uchiha Sasuke came out with his hands in his pockets, stood on the field and said to Night God Ryosuke. What, stupid Sasuke, you know how to be handsome. Naruto, who was outside the field, saw Sasuke's arrogant appearance, and immediately felt displeased. He shouted, Ryosuke, teach Sasuke a lesson. Night God Ryosuke turned his head and smiled at Naruto, followed by looking at Sasuke on the opposite side. Stop talking nonsense, let's start directly. Sasuke said impatiently. Hearing this, Yagami Ryosuke also nodded. Then the two formed the seal of opposition, and the battle began. It was almost the next second after the printing was completed. The figures of the two disappeared at the same time. Boom, boom, there were 2 collision sounds in the air. The 2 young figures fisted and kicked each other, and in the blink of an eye they had exchanged several moves. He's faster than me, and he's stronger than me. I'm no match for physical skills. After fighting for a while, Sasuke has realized that it is impossible to defeat Night God Ryosuke by physical skills alone. However, the ninjas of their Uchiha clan have never relied on physical skills to fight against the enemy. Ninjutsu and genjutsu are the skills of the Uchiha clan. Certainly, Sasuke hasn't opened his eyes yet, so he doesn't have any illusions to do. But when it comes to ninjutsu, he has already learned the fire-style ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan, Great Fireball Technique. Night God Ryosuke, defeat me. Sasuke instantly separated a clone to confuse the opponent, and then the main body pulled back and opened the distance. Follow him to quickly seal the seal with both hands. Sasuke seals faster than Night God Ryosuke. At a speed of about 4 prints per second, the print of the Great Fireball Technique was quickly completed. Fire Style. Great Fireball Technique. A fireball with a diameter of more than 1 meter was ejected by Sasuke and quickly flew towards the Night God Ryosuke in front. My god, it's ninjutsu. It's fire style. Sasuke knows fire style ninjutsu. It's too bad, Night God Ryosuke will lose. I must have lost. I didn't expect Uchiha Sasuke to know fire style. This is incredible. I have an uncle who is already a chunin, but he only learned 2C level ninjutsu. The students around were shocked by Sasuke's great fireball technique. Sasuke has never shown his ninjutsu ability in previous battle practice. It has always been easy to win the championship only by throwing the shuriken with physical skills. But today, Sasuke, who consciously can't match the Night God Ryosuke in physical skills, finally showed his ability to press the bottom of the box. Not good. Ryosuke. Mr. Iruka standing outside the field did not expect that Sasuke had already learned the C-level fire-style ninjutsu such as the Great Fireball Technique. Seeing that the fireball was about to engulf the Night God Ryosuke over there, he immediately wanted to rush to save people. After all, for the students of ninja school, the lethality of C-level ninjutsu is still too terrifying. If one is not good, it may cause death. At that time, he, the teacher, will also be to blame. But at this moment, water style. The water is turbulent. Facing the Great Fireball Technique attacking in front of him, Night God Ryosuke can actually dodge directly. After all, he has not shown his true speed from the beginning. It has only used about 50% of its speed and strength. However, Ryosuke, the Night God, did not choose to escape. When Sasuke performed the Great Fireball Technique in the seal, he had noticed the movement of Sasuke's hand, and guessed that Sasuke should be preparing to use the Great Fireball Technique to end the battle. So he is also the Indian style that has become turbulent at the same time. It's just that Ryosuke's seal speed is slower than Sasuke's, so it's only half a beat slower. In the end, he guessed right. Sasuke really intends to end the fight with the Great Fireball Technique. However, Sasuke apparently did not expect that Ryosuke, the Night God, also learned a C-level ninjutsu. And it happens to be water-style ninjutsu that counters fire-style. The moment the fireball approached Night God Ryosuke, an astonishing stream of water spit out from Night God Ryosuke's mouth, forming a large water curtain that enveloped the attacking fireball. When the water and fire collided, a stream of water vapor rose instantly. With the cover of water vapor, Night God Ryosuke also instantly bypassed the two ninjutsu in the middle, came to the position behind Sasuke, and stabbed the back of Sasuke's neck with the wooden kunai in his hand. Boom! The moment Sasuke's body was stabbed, it turned into a wooden stake and flew out. Then, the real Sasuke appeared behind Night God Ryosuke, and a side kick instantly hit his body. Boom! What? Sasuke opened his eyes wide, looking in disbelief at the Night God Ryosuke who had turned into a wooden stake in front of him. At this time, a hand was placed on Sasuke's shoulder, and a wooden kunai was placed in front of his neck. Sorry, you lost. Night God Ryosuke's voice followed in his ears. Sasuke's eyes widened, and he froze in place. He thought his reaction was fast enough. In the second after Night God Ryosuke casts the water chaos, he immediately realizes that the opponent is likely to launch a sneak attack when the water vapor rises. So Sasuke also deliberately cooperated and left a double on the spot, standing there instead of himself as the target. It turned out that Night God Ryosuke actually predicted his prediction. He thought he was on the 3rd floor, and Night God Ryosuke was on the 2nd floor, but he didn't expect that he was indeed on the 3rd floor, but Night God Ryosuke was on the 4th floor. How do you know I'm a substitute? Sasuke asked unwillingly. Hearing this, Yi Shen Ryosuke also smiled and said, I don't know, but I never underestimate my opponent, so I don't mind making extra preparations. Sasuke. U6. Sasuke, who was speechless, did not expect that he would lose to the cautious psychology of Night God Ryosuke. This shouldn't be the way a 10-year-old child should do things, right? This is too stable. Winner, Night God Ryosuke. At this time, teacher Iruka outside the court also announced the result. These two children are really surprising. Iruka looked at Night God Ryosuke and Uchiha Sasuke over there. If Uchiha Sasuke's performance was expected, then Night God Ryosuke's performance today really scared him a little. He thought he would be helpless against the great fireball Night God Ryosuke, but he didn't expect this kid to have such an excellent water-style ninjutsu. That note of water chaos is better than him. Iruka never thought that Ryosuke, the second son of 10,000 years in the class, would actually be able to stand up one day. He even beat the top student in the class, Uchiha Sasuke. 1. Oh my god, it's unbelievable. Night God Ryosuke can also know ninjutsu. It's Mizuranbo, my father also knows this ninjutsu. But I feel that Ryosuke uses it better than my father. I didn't expect that Uchiha Sasuke would lose to Night God Ryosuke. Is this a counterattack at the end of the crane? Ryosuke-kun is so handsome. Ah, the students around looked at the result in disbelief. Some female students couldn't help screaming, shouting the name of Night God Ryosuke, looking like a nympho. And on the field, Night God Ryosuke and Uchiha Sasuke also formed a seal of reconciliation with each other. Next time I will definitely not lose to you again. Uchiha Sasuke had an unconvinced expression on his face. He thought that he had lost to his carelessness this time. He didn't expect that Ryosuke, the Night God, would be so cautious. He obviously didn't see that the one he stayed in place was a substitute, but he still kept a hand. Then try harder next time, Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. He didn't care about Uchiha Sasuke's unconvinced look. Because he knows very well that unless Sage of Six Paths jumps out in advance to open up the second pillar, otherwise Uchiha Sasuke will never have a chance to overtake him in this life. To be honest, today is only the third day that Night God Ryosuke got the system. Although he has obtained 7 golden talent entries and 1 purple talent entry. But there is still a long way to go to completely transform the entry into its own strength. Not to mention Sharingan and the like. Even if it's just a 10-fold ninjutsu power bonus, Night God Ryosuke hasn't been able to make much use of it so far. After all, he will, and it's just a preliminary grasp of the chaos of water. Under normal circumstances, Ryosuke, the Night God, has no power at all with his understanding of the water chaos. The reason why he can make the water turmoil break Uchiha Sasuke's great fireball technique is because of the 10-fold increase in ninjutsu power. But what if Yagami Ryosuke really mastered the ninjutsu of Mizuranami? At that time, the effect will be inferior to A-level ninjutsu like Great Waterfall technique. And, in the few battles just now, Night God Ryosuke didn't use the all-round strength improvement effect of the Son of Destiny at all. Because there is no need. A group of ninja schools are all reserve genin who have not yet graduated. Don't take it so seriously. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the ninja school is over. Ryosuke-kun, do you want to go home together? Go away. Ryosuke-kun is going home with me. Your house is not on the way. Mr. Ryosuke, do you like meatballs? My family owns a meatball shop, or I'll bring you some meatballs tomorrow. Ryosuke-kun, please date me. ? Yagami Ryosuke was speechless looking at these female students who surrounded their seats as soon as school was over. To be honest, for these female students, Yagami Ryosuke really has no interest. Sorry, I have to practice after school. There is no way. Yi Shen Ryosuke can only excuse that he is going to practice, and reject the kindness of these female students. What, Ryosuke, this guy has become so popular all of a sudden. Naruto looked back at Ryosuke, who was surrounded by a group of female classmates, with envy in his eyes. At this time, a pink figure ran past Naruto. Sasuke, let's go home together. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Uchiha Sasuke glanced coldly at Haruno Sakura, then looked back at Night God Ryosuke surrounded by those girls, gloating inexplicably. Fart Sasuke, don't talk like that to little Sakura. At this time a big face appeared in Uchiha Sasuke's sight, Naruto glared at him viciously, fighting for little Sakura. At the end of the crane, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you here, I'm going back to practice. Uchiha Sasuke finished speaking coldly, and walked directly to the door of the classroom. Sasuke, wait for me. Haruno Sakura saw it and immediately chased after it. Little Sakura, go away. Naruto was pushed away, watching Haruno Sakura hurriedly chase Sasuke in front, his envious eyes turned red. It's always Sasuke's, what's so good about Sasuke? Naruto muttered unconvinced. What's wrong? Are you swearing behind your back? At this moment, Yagami Ryosuke came over with a smile and patted Naruto. Not at all. Naruto raised his head and said, Ryosuke, where are those girls? They were sent away by me. Night God Ryosuke looked distressed. Naruto, let me tell you, women are really troublesome, especially this kind of little girl, the most troublesome. Naruto, I'm so envious, you still think it's troublesome. Really cry to death. Ryosuke, let's go home together. At this time, Ino with long golden hair ran over, smiled and invited Night God Ryosuke. Okay, Night God Ryosuke readily agreed. He waved goodbye to Naruto and walked out of the classroom with Ino. Naruto, asshole, didn't you just say that little girls are the most troublesome? You duplicity man, I'm back. Ryosuke is back, do you want some juice? Mom just squeezed it. Okay, I want a big drink. After changing shoes at the entrance, Yagami Ryosuke trotted over and took a glass of juice from his mother Yagami Mizuki. Delicious. He took a few sips and said with a smile. Yagami Mizuki also smiled and looked at her son in front of her. How was school today? Did it go well? Well, it's all good. Yagami Ryosuke nodded, and didn't say that he defeated the chief student in the class today. After all, he is not really a 10-year-old kid, and he will show off such trivial things to his parents. After drinking the juice, Yagami Ryosuke put the cup in the kitchen, and then ran to the yard to continue practicing tree climbing. He had climbed to the middle of that tree yesterday. I believe I should be able to climb to the top of the tree today. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that there were too many chakra in Ryosuke's body, with his current talent, he would have already completed the practice of climbing trees. It's just that the chakra in Ryosuke's body is already more than the average cage level. It is really difficult to control. That's why I haven't completed the practice of climbing trees until now. But soon, after climbing the tree today, I will practice shadow clone technique and water style afterward. The former can basically be done today. Among the latter two, the shadow clone technique can be basically mastered today. Can't say how skilled, but at least one or two shadow clones that can be used normally should be no problem. Yard. Night God Ryosuke stood on a branch, with his head down and his feet hanging upside down from the tree, his feet stuck firmly to it as if they were glued. Finally completed the practice of climbing trees, the next step is to tread water, but this has to find a new place to practice. Night God Ryosuke turned over, jumped from the tree, and returned to the ground. The practice of treading water obviously cannot be carried out in one's own yard. No way. There happened to be a tree planted in his yard, so he could practice tree climbing. But the place for the pool is really not big enough, so it was not built. But this is easy to handle. There are many kinds of forests around Konoha. Finding a river or something is still very simple. You don't even need to leave the village, you can find them in those training grounds. But today is too late. Night God Ryosuke also doesn't plan to go out to practice at night. At first, mother will be worried. Secondly, in the evening, Night God Ryosuke had already planned to practice shadow clone technique and water chaos. There is no time to practice other things. Human energy is limited after all. That's why Night God Ryosuke wants to learn shadow clone technique as soon as possible. After all, that is Hokage's world-famous practice cheat. Yard. After dinner, Ryosuke continued to practice shadow clone technique. He stood in the middle of the yard, constantly performing the shadow clone technique in seals. Try it over and over again, and correct the mistakes you made earlier. Finally, after Night God Ryosuke used the shadow clone technique countless times, he finally managed to separate a normal shadow clone that would not dissipate. Successful. Night God Ryosuke looked at the shadow clone in front of him. Normal body shape. Chakra is normal. Normal thinking. After checking and confirming, Night God Ryosuke also directed Shadow Clone to practice water chaos. By the way, can you enjoy the bonus of the talent entry? Night God Ryosuke suddenly remembered something, stopped Shadow Clone who was going to practice, and asked. No, I don't feel it at all. Shadow Clone shook his head. Can't you? Yagami Ryosuke is right when he thinks about it carefully. If Shadow Clone can also share talent entries, wouldn't it be a bug? For example, the Night God Ryosuke splits a Shadow Clone, and this Shadow Clone will take away 50% of his chakra, but if the Shadow Clone can also share talent entries, then the 50% of the chakra he took away can be enjoyed again. Chakra bonus for entries. If you don't have it, you don't have it, you go to practice. Night God Ryosuke sent away Shadow Clone, and then continued to practice Shadow Clone technique. The reason why Shadow Clone is not allowed to practice Shadow Clone technique, but to practice water chaos. It is also because practicing the Shadow Clone technique consumes more chakra, and Shadow Clone does not have the amazing chakra recovery ability of the deity. In fact, Shadow Clone's chakra does not recover at all. It is a little less. Therefore, Night God Ryosuke didn't let Shadow Clone practice Shadow Clone technique. Going to practice chakra instead consumes less water turbulence. After an hour, Night God Ryosuke successfully split a stable Shadow Clone again. And this Shadow Clone's chakra is also 50% of himself. Because in the previous hour, Night God Ryosuke continued to practice Shadow Clone technique, not only did not consume chakra, but also recovered the 50% chakra that was allocated before. The price is that Yagami Ryosuke just finished eating for 2 or 3 hours, and now he is hungry again. It would be great if we could directly absorb natural energy in the future. Yagami Ryosuke patted his stomach and thought. After commanding the second Shadow Clone to practice water chaos, Night God Ryosuke also went back to the house to find something to eat. This made Yagami Mizuki, who saw this scene, secretly wonder if she should prepare more for dinner in the future. After all, when children are growing up, they will only eat more and more in the future. But Ryosuke is too good to eat, right? Won't this eat and damage the body? Yagami Mizuki looked at her son who was not satisfied after devouring 5 small cakes, and went to the kitchen with 2 buckets of instant noodles, and couldn't help but worry that the child would spoil his stomach. However, Yagami Mizuki might not have seen anything that was really edible. You know, Naruto ate a full 30 bowls of ramen in a certain big appetite competition in the future. And this is not the most edible. Hinata, who looks petite, once ate 46 bowls of ramen in one go. In contrast, Night God Ryosuke, what is this little appetite? The truth is nothing but a big deal. 10 at night. Night God Ryosuke is practicing chakra in his room. At this time, a sense of dizziness hit. Immediately afterwards, a large piece of memory flooded into his brain. All our Shadow Clones experience in practicing water chaos. Has the chakra of the first Shadow Clone been exhausted? Yagami Ryosuke held his forehead and shook his head. The feeling returned quickly. It should be said that it is a sage body. You must know that ordinary ninjas dare not use Shadow Clone to practice. This method is only limited to people with special physiques like Night God Ryosuke or Uzumaki Naruto. Their ability to recover far exceeds that of ordinary people. Not to mention 1 or 2 Shadow Clone assisted cultivation. Even if it is dozens or hundreds. It's not impossible. If you take it back all at once, I'm afraid you will fall asleep on the spot. But as long as you sleep and wake up the next day, you can still be alive and well. It does not affect the normal life of the next day at all. In the same way, in that regard, people like them also have a natural advantage. 7 or 8 times a night, no problem at all. The second Amaterasu like normal activity. I won't be so weak that I can't get up. Even if it's going to be like this every day for a period of time, it's okay. Just take a day off after a while. Immediately be able to revive with full blood. Have to say, sage body, really great. If Uchiha Sasuke also had a sage body, it is not impossible to revive the Uchiha clan even with one's own power. Chapter 21. Another hour later, the second Shadow Clone also dissipates. And the results of the 2 Shadow Clones' one-night practice were also directly packaged and collected by Night God Ryosuke. Sleep. Night God Ryosuke is not going to stay up late today. For the first 2 nights, he had had enough of staying up late and feeling sleepy the next day. Now finally learned the shadow clone technique. Only fools continue to stay up all night. So after going to the bathroom to wash up, Yagami Ryosuke went straight to bed. This night was the night god Ryosuke had the most solid sleep after waking up the memory of his previous life. It was more than 6 o'clock the next morning. Night god Ryosuke woke up early. I went to the bathroom, washed my face, brushed my teeth, and then went back to the room. I forgot to test my eyes yesterday. Yagami Ryosuke murmured to himself. Then he walked in front of the mirror in the room, and suddenly a piece of skin around his eyes burst out with veins. Roll your eyes, open. In the mirror, night god Ryosuke's original red eyes suddenly turned into pure white, and the area around the eyes was bulging with blue veins, giving him a hideous look. Is this the perspective of Bayan? Night god Ryosuke looked around. The wall can no longer block his sight, and Bayan's perspective ability allows him to easily pass through the building and see the situation on the other side. At the same time, the whole world turns into black and white, only the color of chakra, which is extraordinarily bright. So this is the perspective of white eyes. Yagami Ryosuke smacked his lips, feeling slightly disappointed. I thought that the ability to see through was really as powerful as in the legend, but it turned out that it was X-rays. What am I expecting? Night god Ryosuke pouted. But also right. If Bayan of the Hyuga clan really had that ability, they would have been exterminated long ago, right? After all, there is no shortage of powerful female ninjas in the ninja world. Not to mention, the wives of those powerful male ninjas are also female. If the white eyes of the Hyuga clan really had that level of perspective ability, I am afraid that these people would have teamed up to wipe out the Hyuga clan long ago. It will not allow the Hyuga clan to survive from the Sengoku era to the current ninja village era. Although Bayan's perspective ability did not achieve the effect that night god Ryosuke wanted, but other aspects are really nothing to say. And because night god Ryosuke's white eyes have also increased the observation distance by 200%, so his inside eyes can see everything within a straight line range of 3 kilometers. And the 200% bonus of purity. Night god Ryosuke didn't realize it. After all, Hinata, who has the same pure white eyes, is no different from normal white eyes in expressiveness. Probably not enough. Or what external stimulation is needed? But, after opening the white eyes, night god Ryosuke can feel that his sage body seems to be nourishing the eyes. At this point, in fact, night god Ryosuke also had a similar feeling when he opened Sharingan. However, this nourishing effect is very slight and a very slow process. Night god Ryosuke speculates that it may be because his sage body is still in its infancy. If you can progress to intermediate, or even advanced sage body, then, maybe these two pairs of eyes can be evolved to a certain extent. For example, Sharingan changed from Eternal Mangekyo to Rinnegan. And the white-eyed words. I don't know if there is no chakra of the Otsutsuki family, can it evolve to Tenseigan only with the advanced sage body? Or, clean eyes. Night god Ryosuke is not sure either. But his current Sharingan is only Shwanguyu. It was long before Eternal Mangekyo. Even if you are nourished by the sage body, you have to go step by step from Sengoyu to ordinary Mangekyo. I just don't know if Mangekyo who has no blood relatives can evolve his Sharingan to Eternal Eye. I can only hope that sage body is strong enough. By the way, I don't know if the Sharingan can be activated at the same time when the white eye is activated. Looking at the surroundings with supercilious eyes, Ryosuke, the night god who saw many interesting scenes, had a whim and wanted to see if he could activate 2 pupil techniques at the same time. Then, night god Ryosuke first stopped observing the surroundings with the eyes of insight and clairvoyance, looked at the mirror in front of him again, and then tried to open Sharingan. At this time, on the face of the night god Ryosuke in the mirror, the original blue veins on both sides of the eyes suddenly disappeared, and a pair of pure white eyes also turned into the original red. Night god Ryosuke's eyes are originally red. It's just that compared with the red of Sharingan, it is slightly lighter, and there is no hook jade. If his hair is white, to be honest, it's kind of like Senju Tobarama. But night god Ryosuke's hair is black, not white. Strange, didn't it work? Look at the restored eyes in the mirror. Night god Ryosuke couldn't help feeling puzzled. However, Yagami Ryosuke soon discovered that this was not the case. It's not that the 2 pupil techniques didn't work. On the contrary, It is precisely because the two kinds of pupil techniques are effective that such a change occurs. Probably because no one has ever been able to have the two kinds of pupils, Bion and Sharingan, so no one knows what will happen to the eyes after opening these two pupils at the same time. And now, Night God Ryosuke, who possesses these two kinds of pupil skills at the same time, got this answer. When the two kinds of pupil techniques are activated at the same time, the eyes will immediately return to their normal appearance. Wrong, should say. He can freely switch among the three states. In the mirror, Ryosuke, the night god who understands everything, is doing it right now. His eyes suddenly changed into two Tomo Sharingans, then turned into white eyes, and then turned into normal red eyes. Switching back and forth without any discomfort in the middle. And, the two kinds of pupil techniques not only do not have mutual exclusion and suppression. On the contrary, there have been benign changes that complement each other. This is something Yagami Ryosuke never thought of. By the way, see if you can copy other people's ninjutsu from a long distance. Night God Ryosuke had a whim, and then swept his eyes, locking on Konoha's number 1 training ground. Training ground number 1 is one of the most popular training grounds for ninjas. Ninjas below the level of Chunin are not allowed to enter here, so at least those who practice here are Chunin, and sometimes even some official Jonin practice some ninjutsu here. It's around 6:30 in the morning. It was just dawn, but in the number 1 training ground, there were already many ninjas practicing. It's hard work. Very good. Yagami Ryosuke sat on the edge of the bed, observing the ninjas in training ground number 1 with his white eyes. Most of them are Chunin. There are also a few special Jonin. But officially Jonin didn't see any of them. At this time, there happened to be a special Jonin standing by a pool of water practicing water-style jutsu. Night God Ryosuke's eyes immediately fixed on this special Jonin. Sharingan, copy. Next second, this special Jonin's seal movement, as well as the flow direction of chakra in the body during the seal, were all copied by Night God Ryosuke using Sharingan's copying ability. Really, Night God Ryosuke's face showed ecstasy. If so, even if he can't enter those advanced training grounds for the time being, he can still copy the ninjutsu or taijutsu used by those ninjas from a long distance through his own eyes. Great, now my 10-fold ninjutsu boost entry attribute has finally shown its true effect. Night God Ryosuke was also overjoyed. Although I learned the shadow clone technique before. But Night God Ryosuke's ninjutsu is limited after all. But only a few. Learned everything. He has no ninjutsu to learn. At that time, maybe I can only develop Rasengan myself, but this thing is not easy to use. After all, it's hard to explain how I learned it. At that time, some troubles will inevitably be avoided. Night God Ryosuke's current strength is far from enough for him to act recklessly in Konoha. At least until he has cage level strength. And now, Night God Ryosuke is also nothing but chakra reached cage level. But in other respects, it is far from enough. Chakra alone is useless. You have to learn the ninjutsu that can take advantage of this huge chakra in order to truly transform it into your own strength. Although the ninjutsu I copied on the training ground are all ordinary C-level ninjutsu, at most they are just some B-level ninjutsu. But I have a 10-fold increase in talent entries. The power of B-level ninjutsu in my hands is no less than the effect of S-level ninjutsu. So even if I just learned a bunch of BC-level ninjutsu, it's enough for me. At this time, Night God Ryosuke also tried a simple knot seal. He didn't mobilize the chakra in his body, so he didn't release this ninjutsu. It's water style. Water whip, a very practical water style ninjutsu. Yagami Ryosuke frowned. He found that although he copied that special Jonin's ninjutsu, the effect was not very good when he used it. The reason is because his printing speed is too slow. Looks like I need to practice knot seal more. Although real ninjas don't need seals, at least for now I still need to rely on seals to release these ninjutsu. The speed of 2.5 prints per second is really too slow. Not to mention 5 or 6 prints per second. At least it has to reach the speed of 4 prints per second, right? Otherwise, a ninjutsu with 6 or 7 seals takes 2 or 3 seconds to release. If this is faced with a real enemy, it is no different from courting death. Regarding the knot seal, Yagami Ryosuke decided that he could secretly practice it in the ninja school in the future. Words now. The most important thing is to copy a few more ninjutsu first. Then, Night God Ryosuke continued to observe these ninjas in the number 1 training ground with his eyes of insight. Finally, he found another chunin who was practicing fire-style ninjutsu. Sharingan, copy. Night God Ryosuke is delighted to copy another fire-style ninjutsu. This time he copied the famous sea-level fire-style ninjutsu, Great Fireball Technique. It's the famous no-kill fire style, claiming to have never killed anyone. As for why this unique fire-style ninjutsu of Uchiha appears in the hands of ninjas who are not of the Uchiha clan. Is the Uchiha family still alive? Only Uchiha Sasuke and filial son Itachi are left in the whole family. Those ninjutsu scrolls of the Uchiha clan had naturally been confiscated by the village's senior management. Otherwise, Sasuke will not only use one great fireball technique over and over again all day long. But this great fireball technique is really easy to use. The main reason is that the power is not bad, the difficulty of learning is not high, and the ki consumption of chakra is less than that of ordinary sea-level ninjutsu. This kind of ninjutsu can be said to be very popular among chunin. After all, chunin doesn't have much chakra. Every battle has to be calculated carefully. And chakra consumes less ninjutsu like great fireball technique. Just what they needed. Next, Night God Ryosuke has copied another wind-style ninjutsu. Wind-style. Great breakthrough. It is also a well-known sea-level wind-style ninjutsu, and many people use it. Successfully copied 3 ninjutsu. Yagami Ryosuke was in a happy mood all morning. Even when he was in the ninja school, he would observe the training grounds of the first 3 from time to time to see if there were any more ninjutsu that could be copied. But there are not many ninjas practicing ninjutsu in the training ground. Most of the ninjutsu practiced are still the same. Therefore, after 3 classes in one morning, Night God Ryosuke just copied a few moves of taijutsu. In terms of ninjutsu, there are still only the 3 in the morning. Sure enough, most of Konoha's chunin only know a few ninjutsu after tossing and turning, and jonin basically don't go to public training grounds to practice. Night God Ryosuke has already been mentally prepared. So his initial goal was actually to place those ninja clans. Probably to guard against the supercilious eyes of the Hyuga clan. The clans of these ninja families are basically covered by independent barriers. Although not the entire clan is under the warning of the barrier, some key places are basically included. Therefore, even Ryosuke, the night god, couldn't see the pictures of these places with his white eyes. Although it's a pity, it's not completely impossible. Jonin is not only family ninja, Konoha still has some commoner jonin. At this stage, there are as many as 500 or 600 Konohas in jonin alone. Certainly, most of them are family ninjas. The Sarutobi family has the largest number of people. No way. The Hokage family. The 3rd generation has been in power for so many years, it is impossible not to make profits for his family. Besides, like the Shimura clan, the Sleeping clan, and the Mito clan, the number of jonin is also no less. Among others, there are more genin. The Hyuga family, the so-called number 1 Konoha family, really cannot defeat the Sarutobi family if they really want to fight. That is to say, the ninjas of the Hyuga family talk about the title of the first family of Konoha all day long, but they don't know that when they are arrogant, the strength of the Sarutobi family has long surpassed them. And if it is said that among Konoha's jonin, family ninjas account for more than 90%, then the remaining few percent are commoner jonin. And that doesn't include the likes of Hatake Kakashi. Although the Hatake family is dying, they are still ninja. It can't be said that if there are few people, it is not considered a ninja, right? For details, please refer to the Uchiha family. But jonin usually has a mission and is not in the village all year round. Night God Ryosuke wants to spy on those jonin, so as to learn when they perform ninjutsu. It depends on luck. The first thing is to find people. The second is that this jonin happens to be performing ninjutsu within the village. Other ninjutsu is hard to say, but for body flicker technique, it should be quite simple. During the lunch break at noon, Yagami Ryosuke took the lunchbox and went with Ino and the others to the rooftop for lunch. In the middle, Night God Ryosuke has been using his white eyes to observe some ninjas within sight. Soon, he noticed a few Anbu ninjas wearing Anbu uniforms moving quickly in the village, heading in the direction of the Hokage building. It's the Anbu ninja. Night God Ryosuke was secretly delighted, and then silently used Sharingan to copy the body flicker technique they performed. Konoha body flicker technique. This is the most common body flicker technique in Konoha. It is said to be an improved version of Second Hokage. It is one of the few ninjutsu in Second Hokage that does not need to be written in the Book of Seals. As we all know, most of the ninjutsu invented by Second Hokage, except water-style ninjutsu, will be written into the sealed book. And this Konoha body flicker technique can be regarded as a fish that slipped through the net. But this thing is actually just modified by Second Hokage. Not his masterpiece. The difficulty of cultivation is not high, only D level. It is one level higher than 3-body technique. But correspondingly, universality is very good. Basically, Konoha's ninjas, as long as they are above Chunin, everyone can do it. Genin's words. If your team leader is willing to teach you, or if you are a ninja, you can also learn it. Because the difficulty is really not high. D-rank Konoha body flicker technique, here it is. Night God Ryosuke does not dislike the popular Konoha body flicker technique. After all, he has not learned any body flicker technique. Some use is good. How come there are so many stinky bugs? Ryosuke, try my little octopus balls. Ino, who was sitting next to him, held a small octopus ball and handed it to Yagami Ryosuke's bento box. Thank you, Ino. Yagami Ryosuke picked it up and took a bite. Well, it tastes great, he said. Really? Ino looked quite happy. Then come and try this blossom sausage again. My mother fried it in oil. It's crispy and delicious. Well, this one is delicious too. Hee hee, I knew we both had similar tastes. Ino, don't let me eat it all the time, eat it yourself. It's okay, Ryosuke, eat more, I'm a girl, eat less. Ino kept adding vegetables to Yagami Ryosuke's bento box. I rested my chin on my small hand, and looked sideways at the night god Ryosuke eating. Shikamaru, Choji, shouldn't we be here? The two looked at each other, seeing a hint of helplessness in each other's eyes. Hokage building. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had just finished reviewing some documents, also picked up the cigarette stick in hand and took a puff, then picked up the next report and glanced at it. Night God Ryosuke. Was he a child born to a commoner? I didn't expect that there would be another civilian ninja with good talent, who can come from behind and defeat the descendants of the Uchiha clan, which is considered outstanding talent. The report was sent by Ninja School, which recorded the current situation of some students who performed well in the school. As the principal of the Ninja School, Third Hokage will also care about the growth of these children from time to time to see if there are any children with outstanding ninja talents. If there are particularly outstanding ones, we will pay more attention to them. By the time of graduation, Jonin will be assigned a better leader. This is also a kind of cultivation. After all, these children are the future of the village. In today's report, a child named Ryosuke was highlighted. What caught Third Hokage's attention was that the opponent actually defeated Uchiha Sasuke, a descendant of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Sasuke. Sure enough, talent is still far inferior to Itachi. Third Hokage thought to himself. After all, Uchiha Itachi graduated from ninja school at the age of 7, passed the Chunin exam by himself at the age of 10, and was promoted to Chunin, joined Anbu at the age of 11, and became an excellent Anbu ninja. Such a resume is second only to Hatake Kakashi. Compared to. As the younger brother, Uchiha Sasuke is far behind. There is no comparison at all. People can't help but wonder, is this born by a parent? In Hokage's office, Third Hokage smoked a few cigarettes, and finally put down the report in his hand. It's still too early. If he still has such a performance when he graduates, he can be allowed to join Anbu in the future. Just beat a Uchiha Sasuke. And it didn't look like a landslide victory, which apparently wasn't enough for Sarutobi Hiruzen to double down on Night God Ryosuke. At most, he remembered the name and knew that there was such a student in ninja school. That's all, at least with the talent that Night God Ryosuke is showing today. It is not worth Sarutobi Hiruzen to invest in it in advance. Hey, ever since the incident of the Uchiha clan, there haven't been many geniuses in the village, Itachi and Shisui, what a pity. Sarutobi Hiruzen also felt a little remorseful. What he regrets is not that he didn't prevent the Uchiha family from exterminating the genocide. After all, it was his acquiescence. What he really regrets is that he didn't guard against Danzo in advance and let him kill Shisui. Otherwise, he still has Shisui and Itachi Admiral under his command, so why worry about the future of the village here? And why look for possible geniuses in ninja schools? It's all Danzo's fault. When Sarutobi Hiruzen thought of his old friend, he felt angry. This guy knows how to embarrass himself every day. If it wasn't for the past love, and because he was old, he liked to recall the past and let him indulge Danzo's provocations again and again, otherwise, that guy Danzo would have died a long time ago. Say Sao Sao and Sao Sao will arrive. As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen thought of Danzo, Danzo opened the door and walked into Hokage's office. Hiruzen, I heard that kid from the Uchiha clan was defeated by a commoner. Shimura Danzo, who pushed the door and came in, leaned on a cane, and when he came up, he said strangely, "Huh. I said a long time ago, I should have given this Uchiha kid to me to train. Look at how you have trained people. Can't even beat a civilian." Danzo, you don't need to question the old man's decision. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at him with a dark face. Also, remember to knock on the door next time you enter. How old are you, and you don't even know the rules? However, Shimura Danzo didn't take Sarutobi Hiruzen's words seriously at all. He sneered and said, "Hiruzen, it's not too late to hand him over to me. At least I still have the ability to raise this Uchiha clan kid, but if he continues to stay in a ninja school, a place where children play games, he will be doomed in the future. There will be no future. Leave it to you." Sarutobi Hiruzen snorted and said, "Danzo, don't even think about Uchiha Sasuke. Even if I promise you, Itachi won't agree. Do you want Itachi to come back and talk to you?" Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shimura Danzo, whose face suddenly became ugly, and couldn't help laughing out loud. He does know. Uchiha Itachi visited Shimura Danzo when he left the village. Although it is not clear what the two said at the time. But afterwards, Danzo is said to have lost his temper, which shows that the meeting at that time must not have been pleasant. The unhappy person should be Danzo without a doubt. So, Danzo's face became so ugly when he heard Sarutobi Hiruzen mention the name Uchiha Itachi again, and threatened himself with it. I'm afraid of a rebellious little brat," Danzo said stiffly. Sarutobi Hiruzen also chuckled, not piercing his disguise. "However, since Hiruzen you don't want to, then forget it." Danzo pretended to be generous and said, "Actually scruples about the existence of Uchiha Itachi. After all, this dutiful son would rather slaughter the whole clan than keep his brother's ultimate Brokon. Can't afford it. By the way, how is Jinchuriki doing?" "Hiruzen, I'm not talking about you. You are a good Jinchuriki. Let's see what you have trained him to be like. I only know how to play some pranks in the village all day long. When the war comes later, I'll see how you bring him to the battlefield. Why don't you give him to me and let me train him? I promise I can train you a qualified Jinchuriki, how about it?" Danzo gave up the idea of fighting Uchiha Sasuke, but instead focused on Uzumaki Naruto, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. In fact, he's had his eye on the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki since a long time ago. It's just that Sarutobi Hiruzen never agreed. At this time, he brought up the old matter again, just to see Sarutobi Hiruzen's current attitude. Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen's complexion sank, and his slightly cloudy eyes suddenly became sharper as he stared at the old friend in front of him. "Stop thinking about Jinchuriki. As long as the old man is still in Hokage's seat for a day, he will never be allowed to meddle in Jinchuriki's affairs, do you understand?" Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's harsh tone, Danzo's face darkened. Hiruzen, you will regret it sooner or later. Danzo, mind yourself, remember. I'm the Hokage. Joe, this sentence again. Danzo's knuckles turned white with anger. He tightly held the cane in his hand, wishing he could hit Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face with the cane. Hokage, you know how to piss me off with the title Hokage, right? Wait, the old man will take Hokage's position sooner or later. And at that time, Hiruzen, you will know who is really qualified to sit on this Hokage position. Boom. Danzo closed the door angrily and left in anger. Outside the Hokage building, the two rude ninjas saw Danzo coming out and hurriedly followed. Danzo-sama, did Hokage-sama agree to hand over that kid from the Uchiha clan to you for training? Seeing Danzo's ugly face, a root ninja couldn't help asking. This person is also Danzo's confidant. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to ask Danzo, who was angry at this moment. Hiruzen is old and already blind, Danzo said coldly. He made no secret of his dissatisfaction with Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage. What about the others, like the civilian genius who defeated Uchiha Sasuke? Asked the root ninja. That brat, Danzo snorted coldly. Without an outstanding bloodline, it is doomed to be just a flash in the pan. Besides, the Uchiha kid was trained by Hiruzen to be such a waste. What does it mean to defeat a trash Uchiha? Obviously, Danzo didn't even look at Ryosuke, the night god, who was called a civilian genius by his subordinates. These days, anyone dares to be called a genius. A genius named Hyuga Neji came out of the branch house of the Hyuga family. In the current 6th grade graduating class, there is another civilian genius named Kudo Shinichi. In Class A of the 3rd grade, there is a female civilian genius named Narumi Jinguji. But in Danzo's eyes, only those like Uchiha Itachi, or Hatake Kakashi are qualified to be called geniuses. The above are, at best, quite talented. But their upper limit is almost visible to the naked eye. Jonin is basically the limit of these so-called civilian geniuses. With luck, it is possible to reach the heights of elite Jonin. But so what? Does Danzo lack 1 or 2 elite Jonin men? What he lacks is the kind of subordinate who can reach cage-level strength. Pity. The real geniuses that have come out of the village over the years are just one Uchiha Itachi and one Uchiha Shisui. All belong to the Uchiha clan. Now one has burped. One of the judges was outside the village, performing a spy mission. Neither one works for me. Danzo felt very sad. However, when he thought that Sarutobi Hiruzen would not be served by these real talents, he couldn't help feeling a little flattered in his heart. Especially because he was responsible for all of this. It's even better. HMPH. If the old man can't get it, Hiruzen, you can't get it either. Danzo thought with a sneer in his heart. Ninja school, on the roof. Yagami Ryosuke suddenly didn't come and sneezed. Strange, how do you feel that someone is scolding me behind my back? He rubbed his nose, thinking. Ryosuke, have you thought about what you want to do in the future? Shikamaru next to him suddenly lay down and looked at the clouds in the sky. For me, I just want to live an ordinary life, like that kind of fighting and killing, busy life every day, probably isn't suitable for me. Hearing Shikamaru suddenly mentioned his future life, Yagami Ryosuke thought about it and said, if it were me, I wouldn't be able to stay idle. I prefer that kind of colorful life. If every day is just the same, I would probably get bored quickly. And, since the day of the ninja, our lives have actually been unable to be controlled by ourselves. Shikamaru, the kind of carefree and ordinary life you want to live, I'm afraid there is no way to achieve it, unless you have the ability to say no to anyone. Night God Ryosuke suddenly laughed. But we're only 10 years old now, so it's a bit too early to say, at least wait until we all graduate. Yeah, but it's only been 2 years since graduation. Shikamaru sighed suddenly. He was shocked by what Night God Ryosuke said just now. What he longed for was indeed that kind of ordinary life. This is also the life he wanted from a younger age. Because he was born in the Nara clan, Shikamaru saw many adults in the family never return after performing certain dangerous missions when he was very young. This made him instinctively reject that kind of life. And as he grows older, with Shikamaru's smart brain, he is actually very clear that once he becomes a ninja, his future life is beyond his control. And as the young master of the Nara clan, it is impossible for him to become an ordinary person. His future seems to have been doomed from the moment he was born. But this also made Shikamaru reject all this more and more. Sometimes, he even thought about abandoning everything now and finding a place where no one was around to live. Pity. These are just some outrageous thoughts that pop up when he is occasionally upset. Not really going to do it. The ability to say no to anyone. Shikamaru thought of what Night God Ryosuke said just now, and suddenly had the urge to practice hard. But when I think that even if I practice hard, I am afraid that my achievements will be similar to my father's. Things that even my own father can't do. He didn't think he could do it either. Saying no to anyone may sound easy, but it's so hard to do. Especially in such a world of ninjas. Could it be that they could still disobey Hokage's orders? Even if you become a Hokage, don't you have to obey the order of the daimyo? You can't dream of becoming a big name, can you? It seems that the thing was not there when he was born, and he will never have it in his life. Forget it, don't want to. Shikamaru suddenly felt a little irritable. So I just didn't think about it. In fact, as it is now, living a day is a day, which is pretty good. However, Ryosuke, does he want to have that ability too? Shikamaru glanced sideways at Ryosuke, who was sitting next to him. Suddenly, I felt that the goal of my little friend was quite lofty. As far as, there is a high probability that it will not be possible. Ryosuke, class is about to start, let's go back to the classroom. Ino recruits from a distance, calling the name of Night God Ryosuke. Let's go. Shikamaru stood up, patted the dust off his clothes, and walked slowly towards the stairs. Ryosuke, the Night God behind him, picked up a piece of Shikamaru's hair from the ground when he got up. Then it was collected into the biological pheromone warehouse. The first class in the afternoon is the theoretical knowledge class that Yagami Ryosuke dislikes the most. So he deserted openly. While practicing not mudra with both hands under the table, he took out Shikamaru's hair and let the system convert it into a talent entry. Ding. Single quote. Transformation succeeded. Congratulations to host for getting the talent entry, Scholar Purple. Straight A student, Yagami Ryosuke glanced at Shikamaru. Indeed, this guy Shikamaru is a master of point control. A talent entry like Shueba can probably be transformed from Shikamaru. For others, even Haruno Sakura, who has the highest theoretical score in the class, is more likely to be diligent and eager to learn. To be honest, in Class A of their 4th grade, Shikamaru is probably the only real top student. Other people, at the top of the sky, he is a fake academic master. Shueba Purple, learning knowledge is easy for you. You are immersed in the ocean of knowledge, and all knowledge will become nutrients for your growth. Learning ability plus 1000%. Shueba, the attribute of this entry is quite single. Just one learning ability has increased tenfold. But it's a purple talent entry. Understandable. In the previous Princess White Eyes entry, the two attributes add up to only 400%, but the entry Princess White Eyes comes with the blood of the White Eyes and Hyuga clan. This is better than Shikamaru's entry. In terms of pure data, 10 times is obviously better than 4 times. It can only be said that each has its own advantages. Anyway, Night God Ryosuke likes this entry of Shueba. Learning ability, of course, also includes learning ninjutsu, taijutsu, and illusion. In the future, Night God Ryosuke can not only open the practice plugin of Shadow Clone. You can also get 10 times the bonus of learning ability. The efficiency of cultivation should not be too high. Sure enough, people with smart brains, the talent entries that come out are also related to this aspect. Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. So far, the system has been activated for 4 days, and Night God Ryosuke has obtained 9 talent entries. 2 of them are purple, and the remaining 7 are all golden. It can be said that the harvest is extremely rich. But such a good thing will definitely be difficult to replicate in the future. After all, the medium used by Ryosuke to transform talent entries in the early stage came from important tasks in this world, so the transformed talent entries will naturally be relatively excellent. And after all these people have been transformed, Night God Ryosuke can only take the next best thing, aiming at those less important characters. At this point, gold has been withdrawn continuously from the previous 2 days, and there are 3 golden legends as soon as they are withdrawn. But these 2 days have only harvested 2 purple talent entries, which can be seen. Good talent entries cannot be opened all the time. Fortunately, talent entries can be upgraded. Although at present, the Night God Ryosuke has not used the function of upgrading. But that's because he currently has no talent entries to disassemble, and no experience points, so naturally he can't upgrade the existing talent entries. What's more, the purple gold talent entry is not so easy to upgrade. Taking the most rubbish white talent entry as an example, 10 experience points are required to upgrade to the green talent entry. This is very little, so little that it can be ignored. But after each upgrade, the experience value is increased by 10 times. When it comes to the golden talent entry, if you want to upgrade to the god level talent entry, you need a full 100,000 experience points. Night God Ryosuke has not disassembled talent entries so far. I don't know how much experience points can be obtained by disassembling an entry. But thinking about it, this should be linked to the quality of the disassembled talent entry. The better the talent entry, the more experience points you will get when you decompose it. Night God Ryosuke. Talent entry. Son of Destiny Gold. You are the darling of destiny in the legend, so you can always turn bad luck into good fortune in the face of danger. Luck is always with you, and your strength is plus 500% in all aspects when you encounter fatal danger. Plus 1000% chance of your enemies being unlucky. Spirit of Vengeance Gold. You are an avenger, and you are unstoppable on the road of revenge. Chakra cultivation efficiency plus 1000%. Ninjutsu power plus 500%. Cursed Eyes Gold. Your eyes are cursed by the world, but the world is ignorant. How do you know your talent? Get Sharingan with Uchiha blood. Eye-opening efficiency plus 1000%. Pupil power plus 500%. Indra's resentment Gold. Indra is resentful because of his father's preference for Ashura, and his resentment for dozens of lives is unmatched. Pupil power plus 500%. Susanoo's body size plus 500%. Pupil power plus 500%. Chakra plus 1000%. King of Mouth Escape Golden. Your language is naturally convincing. The more you express your views from the heart, the easier it is for others to agree. He is a natural-born Mouth Escape King. Persuasion plus 3000%. Affinity plus 1000%. The incarnation of the demon fox Gold. You are the incarnation of the evil fox in the world. Your existence makes people around you fearful. Your power is enough to bring disaster to the world. Your existence is a terrible natural disaster. Chakra plus 1500%. Ninjutsu power plus 500%. Additional ability. Perception of good and evil. Ashura's kindness Golden. The kind Ashura always hopes to bring peace to the world with his own hands. His innocence and kindness can infect others, but sometimes he also brings trouble to himself. In his heart, he also brought him the power to change the world. Physical fitness plus 1000%. Resilience plus 1000%. Natural affinity plus 1000%. Chakra plus 1000%. Comes with Sage Body. Princess White Eyes Purple. Pure white eyes make you born with extraordinary potential, and the family will be honored because of you. Please try hard to develop your eyes, maybe it will bring you unexpected surprises. White Eyes Observation Distance plus 200%. White Eye Purity plus 200%. Comes with White Eyes Blood Succession Limit. Hyuga Bloodline. Shueba Purple. Learning knowledge is easy for you. You are immersed in the ocean of knowledge, and all knowledge will become nutrients for your growth. Learning ability plus 1000%. Number of conversions. 0 times. Biological pheromone warehouse. No items. Opening the character panel of the system, Night God Ryosuke admired his achievements in the past 4 days. In just 4 days, the changes before and after him can already be described as earth-shaking. 4 days ago, he was the second to last 10,000 years in the 4th grade of the ninja school. Stop talking genin. Can't even beat the reserve genin. And 4 days later, cage level amount of chakra. 4 attribute ninjutsu. D grade Konoha body flicker technique. Class B shadow clone technique. There are also 6 or 7 body arts moves. Add it all up, and make Night God Ryosuke strong enough to rival some chunin. If it weren't for combat experience, it would be too rubbish. Even especially Jonin, it's not impossible to fight. After all, most of the ninjutsu that Special Jonin knows are actually not many. What Ryosuke lacks compared to Special Jonin is just combat experience. Before I knew it, my strength was already this strong. Night God Ryosuke himself felt a little incredible. Actually, Yagami Ryosuke can be even stronger. For example, his Sharingan is about to open the 3-hook jade. Once the 3-hook jade is activated, his pupil power will be close to the level of Mangekyo. There is also his physical fitness. With the blessing of the primary sage body and 10 times the recovery power, as long as he practices physical skills for a while, his physical fitness will definitely soar. At that time, it will be combined with a 10-fold increase in physical fitness. Even with just physical skills, Night God Ryosuke can defeat most of the chunin. And, now with 10 times the learning ability. Moves like Rasengan are believed to be learned soon. By the time, Yagami Ryosuke can start making various balls. In this way, with chakra in place, Night God Ryosuke is enough to reach cage level lethality in a short time. Certainly, the lethality belongs to the lethality. In a real fight, if you can't hit someone, it's useless. But how old is Yagami Ryosuke? He is only 10 years old. Combat experience and these things, give him a little bit of a year or two, and then he will be a cage-level strong man. And, in the past 2 years, the talent entry of Night God Ryosuke will not stop there. He will also get more talent entries. At that time, the strength will be under the blessing of these entries. I'm afraid it's far more than a simple cage level, at least it's a top cage level master, right? Thinking of this, Yagami Ryosuke couldn't help but look forward to the future. Shikamaru had previously asked him what he thought about the future. In fact, Night God Ryosuke wants to say that the future has already been in his hands. Whether it is to dominate the world or to save the world. It's all just a thought of Night God Ryosuke. Tomorrow is the weekend, shall we go to the river to play ninja games? Sasuke, do you want to come together tomorrow? Go away, little Sakura, shall I go play with you tomorrow? Naruto, the 3 classes in the afternoon are over, and the ninja school is also over. Because tomorrow and the day after tomorrow are the weekend, the ninja school is closed, so everyone is discussing how to play on the weekend while packing their things. Haruno Sakura just planned to invite Sasuke, but was scolded by Sasuke impatiently, go away, which made little Sakura very hurt. As a result, Naruto did not know what to do at this time, so naturally he was scolded by little Sakura. Naruto is too dog-licking. Night God Ryosuke couldn't help shaking his head watching this scene. But, this is probably one of Naruto's few hobbies. Mischief and chasing after little Sakura. Ryosuke, do you have any plans for the weekend? Naruto, who was injured on the little Sakura's side, could only run to seek comfort from his little friends. On weekends, let's practice. Yagami Ryosuke thought for a while and said. He plans to take advantage of the weekend to exercise his body. After all, he has a primary sage body and 10 times the recovery power, and it is too wasteful not to exercise. As for ninjutsu, leave it to Shadow Clone. Night God Ryosuke has been able to create 5 Shadow Clones stably. Ah, practice. Naruto had a boastful expression on his face. He hates cultivation the most. Not that Naruto is lazy. It's his poor chakra control ability, which makes him unable to see the slightest progress no matter how much he practices. Over time, Naruto gave up completely. Simply smash it. Seeing Naruto's lack of interest, Yagami Ryosuke thought about it and decided to persuade Naruto. Otherwise, after graduating from the ninja school 2 years later, Naruto is the tail of the crane who can only use one shadow clone technique. When in danger, he can only count on the 9 tails chakra in his body to erupt. Although later during the Chunin exam he will meet Jiraiya and learn to control the huge chakra in his body. But if the foundation can be laid in advance, it will definitely help the future. Naruto, this guy is not bad. Night God Ryosuke also wants to help him. Within reach. Naruto, I treat you as a friend and tell you some things. If you only know how to play pranks all day like now, I'm afraid you won't be able to graduate from the ninja school in 2 years. Night God Ryosuke certainly knows that Naruto can graduate smoothly, but now he wants to persuade Naruto to practice hard. Of course, I won't tell him directly that you can graduate, so let's play badly to your heart's content. You know, there is a guy named Rock Lee in the 5th grade class 1 grade above us, he is just like you, he can't learn the 3-body technique, and he is even worse than you, he can't even use it at all. Quote. But he has been insisting on practicing physical skills, and he has worked harder than anyone I have ever seen. Ninjas like Rock Lee are still working hard to improve themselves and fight for their ninja dreams. Naruto, your situation is at least better than his. What reason is there not to practice hard? Don't you want everyone to recognize you? But if you just play pranks all day long, it won't have any other effect except to make everyone hate you more. The words of Night God Ryosuke can be said to be true from the heart. He really didn't want Naruto to continue wasting time like this. There are still 2 years before the plot really begins. If during these 2 years, Naruto can practice hard and spend the time of pranks on cultivation. At least at the beginning of the plot, his strength is much stronger than now. As for whether this will change the plot, to be honest, Night God Ryosuke doesn't worry about that at all. His strength is his confidence to do so. If a strong person is always timid, he dare not do this or that. Then what do you need this powerful force for? The reason why a strong man is not only because he possesses great strength. At the same time, you must also have the will to move forward and not be afraid of difficulties and obstacles. Night God Ryosuke dare not say that he already has these. But he will at least work in that direction. Can live another life. He didn't want to live a useless life anymore, living in a cringe. Naruto in front of him lowered his head. I don't know if it was hit by the words of the Night God Ryosuke. Just when Night God Ryosuke wanted to comfort him a few words, he felt that he was a little too hasty. Naruto suddenly raised his head with blood on his face, stepped on the stool next to him and shouted loudly, "It's decided. From today, I, Uzumaki Naruto, will work hard to practice." Ryosuke, you're right. I wasted all my time on pranks, but I didn't think about working hard in the past to change everything by relying on my own strength. I understand now, Ryosuke, you are absolutely right. Look, I will definitely impress you in the future. Naruto looked excited. Night God Ryosuke, no, are my words so contagious? Etc. Could it be? Mouth Escape King, the effect of the entry. King of Mouth, the talent entry is 30 times more persuasive, and Night God Ryosuke has never had a deep feeling before. But at this moment, looking at Naruto, who was completely convinced by his own words and vowed to practice hard to change his life, Night God Ryosuke realized the horror of this talent entry for the first time. So, I will be able to cheat on others in the future. Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. Certainly, 30 times the increase is terrifying. But if the other party doesn't agree with what you said in the bottom of their hearts, then even 100 times increase is useless. The reason why Naruto is like this is actually related to his own recognition of some of the views of the Night God Ryosuke. But if there is no 30-fold convincing blessing, then Naruto will only think that what Ryosuke said is right, but he will think that he cannot do it, so he will not put it into action. But now, under 30 times the power of persuasion, Naruto was directly convinced, and this influence will be rooted deep in his heart. For a long time, Naruto will be influenced by the words of Night God Ryosuke today. King of Mouth Escape, it's really terrifying. ... Naruto, why is he crazy? Ino came over at this time, looked curiously at Naruto, who hurried out of the classroom, and asked the Night God Ryosuke. It's nothing, he just decided not to play pranks in the future, and to practice hard. Yagami Ryosuke said, no more pranks, work hard, Naruto. Ino smiled and shook his head with a look of disbelief. That's Naruto. From the first day of school at the age of 6, for 4 full years, he was either playing a prank or on the way to a prank. This guy will change all of a sudden. Ino doesn't believe it. Night God Ryosuke also knows that Ino won't believe it. But time will tell. Don't talk about Naruto. Ino obviously didn't care much about Naruto's affairs. She looked at Night God Ryosuke and said, Ryosuke, do you want to have a picnic together this weekend? Shikamaru and the others are going too. Behind him, Shikamaru, who was pulled by the young man, was speechless. He obviously planned to stay at home on weekends and play chess in a daze. As a result, Ino insisted on pulling him to say that he wanted to have a picnic. The relationship is to invite Night God Ryosuke, so pull him over as an excuse. Women are such trouble. Shikamaru rolled his eyes, his heart aching for the weekend he was about to lose. Picnic, why not put it on Sunday afternoon? I have to practice at other times, and I don't have time. Yishen Ryosuke thought about it, and felt that it is necessary to relax after practicing, combining work and rest. But, cultivation should still come first. Ryosuke, your strength is already stronger than Uchiha Sasuke, do you still have to work so hard? Ino was a little disappointed. In fact, the picnic was not her purpose, but her purpose was to spend this weekend with Night God Ryosuke. Pity, Night God Ryosuke wants to practice and has no time to accompany her. It's not nearly enough. Night God Ryosuke shook his head and said. Shikamaru behind him is in a good mood at this moment. Because the weekend he thought he was going to lose was now back. Ryosuke, this guy, what a nice guy. Shikamaru chuckled inwardly. Okay then, Sunday afternoon then. Ino had no choice but to accept the result. Today is Saturday and the ninja school is off. Yagami Ryosuke got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, washed up, had breakfast, and went out. Konoha number 4 training ground. A river. Night god Ryosuke formed seals with both hands, separated 5 shadow clone, and then asked them to practice ninjutsu, develop Rasengan and chakra control respectively, and then came to a big tree alone. Let's get started. First do 1,000 push-ups. Night god Ryosuke himself also started today's practice. His purpose is to improve his physical fitness and enhance his physical ability. As we all know, most of the physical ninjas in the Hokage world also rely on chakra to achieve combat effectiveness. But this does not mean that taijutsu ninjas are not physically fit. In fact, taijutsu ninjas are much stronger in physical fitness than ninjutsu or phantom ninjas. Although it is far from being comparable to the monsters in the pirate world next door. But at least it is far beyond ordinary people. The night god Ryosuke has unique innate conditions in this regard. First up is the junior sage body. Let his cell vitality far exceed that of ordinary people. Heals faster from injuries. Stamina consumption can also be replenished faster. Secondly, Ashura's mercy. This talent entry also bestows the night god Ryosuke with 10 times the recovery ability. This resilience is the resilience of the body. The primary sage body itself is already very good. Another 10 times bonus. It was just like a monster. With 1,000 push-ups, Yagami Ryosuke felt like he did it with ease. Easier than imagined. So night god Ryosuke decided to increase the difficulty for himself. Since 1,000 push-ups are easy, let's directly increase to 3,000. Taking Ryosuke's 10-year-old physical fitness as an example, if he wants to complete 3,000 push-ups, no matter how good his recovery is, it will be very difficult. Especially the further you get to the back, the more strenuous it is. 2,000 ahead, Yagami Ryosuke feels quite relaxed. But when he reached 2,500, he felt a little tired. When I got up, it was already a little difficult, not as easy as before. And wait until it reaches 2,800. Yagami Ryosuke felt as if his arms would not be able to support his body in the next second. But he still gritted his teeth and insisted on completing the last 200 push-ups. Wait until all 3,000 push-ups are done. Night god Ryosuke also lay directly on the ground, panting heavily. Rested for several minutes. He just felt a little relieved. It's so tiring, but it's also very enjoyable. Yagami Ryosuke couldn't help grinning. This is probably pain and happiness. After a short rest, night god Ryosuke got up again and continued to start leapfrog training. 3,000 leapfrogs. Let Yagami Ryosuke feel that his legs are almost unconscious. When he was done, he lay down on the ground again. Tired and rested for 2 or 3 minutes, he could stand up again and walk slowly in a small area on the spot to recover his strength. One morning, Yagami Ryosuke is exercising in the woods by the river. He didn't practice those physical moves. Those are just tricks to attack. After he copied it with Sharingan, he had already learned it. At most, let Shadow Clone practice and get familiar with it. What really matters is physical improvement. A morning of hell training. Night god Ryosuke also experienced the difficulties of Rock Lee and the others. However, with his strong recovery ability, Night god Ryosuke survived. In contrast, without Rock Lee and Might Guy, who are blessed with such unique physical conditions as Night god Ryosuke, it is the real hardship. Compared with them, Night god Ryosuke is actually not that hardworking. But a morning of hard training is still effective. At least Night god Ryosuke feels that his physique has improved a lot. After all, his original foundation was too poor. If it weren't for the blessing of 10 times his physical fitness, he would not be able to complete this kind of high-intensity training. Does this count as a card bug? Yagami Ryosuke thought while walking on the road. During training, because of the 10 times the physical fitness bonus, he can complete those training difficulties that he could not complete at all. But in fact his foundation is very poor. Therefore, under high-intensity training, these feedbacks directly act on the poor foundation of Isshin Ryosuke, and the effect is particularly good. So much so that it's just a morning workout. It made Yi-Shen Ryosuke feel that his physique had been greatly strengthened. Never mind him, as long as it works. Yi-Shen Ryosuke thought with a smile, and then left the number 4 training ground. It's noon. He's going to have lunch and then return to work out. Go to Ichiraku Ramen. I don't think I've ever been. As a famous spot in Konoha village, Ichiraku Ramen. Yagami Ryosuke really has never tasted the craftsmanship of the hand-beating uncle. I wonder if it is as delicious as in the legend. Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant. Yagami Ryosuke opened the curtain at the door and entered. As soon as I walked in, I saw a white-haired Kakashi sitting in the front seat, holding a bad book and waiting for the ramen to come. Hatake Kakashi. Night God Ryosuke's eyes flashed, and he sat down with a calm expression. Uncle, here is a tonkatsu ramen, I want a big bowl. Yagami Ryosuke yelled. Come on, please wait a moment, guest. The hand-slapping boss who was busy at work responded, and beside him was his daughter Chengpu who was helping him. From time to time, his eyes will glance at Kakashi who is sitting over there reading a book. After Yagami Ryosuke noticed this scene, he also turned his head to look at Kakashi who was reading seriously beside him. Is there something wrong? Although Kakashi is reading a book, as a ninja, he is still very vigilant about the surrounding environment, and even the slightest trouble can't be hidden from him. Whether it was the calamus over there who peeked at him from time to time, or the kid who just sat down next to him, he had noticed it. Did you dye your hair on purpose? Night God Ryosuke pointed to Kakashi's white hair and asked innocently. No, it's natural, Kakashi responded nonchalantly. I don't believe it, no matter how you look at it, it looks like a wig. Yagami Ryosuke stood up to touch Kakashi's hair, but it was blocked by Kakashi's hand. Little devil, I have real hair. Kakashi stared at the kid in front of him with dead fish eyes. The current brat is really hard to like, he thought. Failed. Night God Ryosuke was a little disappointed. Originally wanted to use an excuse to pull out one of Kakashi's hairs. But he didn't have much hope. After all, as an elite jonin, even though Kakashi usually looks like a kidney deficiency, the strength of elite jonin is still real, not a joke. Cut. Blame uncle. Yagami Ryosuke took his hand back and muttered softly. Kakashi's eyes twitched a few times. I complained in my heart that you are the strange brat. Also, I'm only in my 20s, so I want to call you brother. Guest, your miso ramen is ready. At this time, Iris also came over with a large bowl of ramen and placed it in front of Kakashi. Thanks. Kakashi put away the little porn book in his hand, and picked up the chopsticks next to him. Guests please use slowly, Calamus said with a smile. But there was no intention of leaving. Kakashi didn't care, picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of ramen, and then moved so fast that it was impossible to see clearly. He put the ramen into his mouth, and put on the mask again. Calamus, Night God Ryosuke, I knew it. Yagami Ryosuke rolled his eyes inwardly. Kakashi, because of his beauty mole, doesn't want others to see his face. Even when eating, he puts food into his mouth at the speed of an elite jonin. So fast that even if you stare closely you can't see clearly. Calamus, come and help. The uncle shouted, coming. Not being able to see Kakashi's face, Iris, who was a little disappointed, could only turn around and go back to help. And Kakashi continued to eat the bowl of miso ramen in his own way. Yagami Ryosuke stared at him, but after a while he got bored and looked away. Boss, come 4 bowls of soy sauce ramen. Hey, Kakashi, you eat ramen here too. In the Ichiraku Ramen restaurant, 2 more customers came. One big and one small, wearing the same clothes, even the same hairstyle. Yagami Ryosuke looked back, his expression froze, and he turned his head back silently. It's this wonderful pair of master and apprentice, he said in his heart. The visitors are Might Guy and Rock Lee, Konoha's wonderful mentors and apprentices. Rock Lee has already worshipped Might Guy as his teacher before he graduated. He is different from Hyuga Neji and Tiantian. He cannot use ninjutsu, so he can only practice body skills. It was also appreciated by Might Guy because of his tenacious character, so when he was still studying in the ninja school, he was already taking Rock Lee to practice physical skills. But, Night God Ryosuke is very suspicious that Might Guy accepted Rock Lee early because he looks too similar to himself. Of course, Xiao Li did work very hard, there is no doubt about it. It's Guy. Kakashi turned around to say hello, and continued to eat noodles on his own. Might Guy doesn't care about Kakashi's cold attitude, he's used to it and knows that his old friend has this kind of personality. Instead, Rock Lee has been staring at Night God Ryosuke. I do not know what that means. Are you the fourth-year Night God Ryosuke? Suddenly, Xiao Li came over and looked at Night God Ryosuke and said, Yes, it's me. Night God Ryosuke didn't expect Rock Lee to recognize him. Obviously they are not in the same grade. Xiao Li, is this your classmate? Might Guy looked at Night God Ryosuke. As a physical master, he soon discovered that Night God Ryosuke had traces of practicing physical skills. Teacher, he's a fourth grader 1 grade below me. Rock Lee replied and explained, but he beat Uchiha Sasuke, the head student in their class 2 days ago. And he used to be a crane tail. Woo, this is so inspiring. While talking, Rock Lee suddenly burst into tears for no reason. Night God Ryosuke's mouth twitched. Subconsciously moved to the side. Xiao Li, this is youth. Might Guy didn't care about the crying Rock Lee at all, but put one hand on his head, showing a big white fang with his mouth, and said, Youth is not allowed to give up, as long as you persist, youth will repay you. Young man, I have seen your youth. Might Guy suddenly said something to Night God Ryosuke and gave him a thumbs up. This. Yagami Ryosuke felt so embarrassed. Fortunately, there is no one in the ramen shop at the moment. Otherwise, he would have taken the opportunity to slip away. Well, it's really nothing. Yagami Ryosuke said awkwardly. Did this kid defeat the descendants of the Uchiha clan? Kakashi, who was still eating noodles just now, also took a serious look at Yagami Ryosuke at this time, with a somewhat emotional look in his eyes. Perhaps, this reminded him of his former friend, Uchiha Obito. Young man, do you want to run a youth race with me? Might Guy is suddenly interested in Night God Ryosuke, a hardworking ninja who counterattacks the chief student, and is worthy of his interest. No, I still want to eat noodles. Night God Ryosuke refused Might Guy's invitation without hesitation. Trying to run a race with you guys? Then do I have to wear the same clothes as you? Slip away, can't afford it. Seeing that Night God Ryosuke refused, Might Guy was not disappointed, he just invited casually. After all, he hasn't seen the passion for martial arts like Rock Lee and Ryosuke, the Night God. If the other party's talent is in ninjutsu, wouldn't he be trying to mislead his son? At this time, Yagami Ryosuke's ramen is also ready. Calamus brought it to him. Guest, please use your ramen slowly. Iris smiled slightly at Night God Ryosuke, then glanced at Might Guy's master and apprentice over there, and the corners of his eyes twitched a few times. Really, most people can't stand this wonderful pair of master and apprentice. Uncle, another bowl. Although the taste of Ichiraku ramen is not as delicious as in the legend, the ingredients are indeed very solid, and the taste is quite good. Ryosuke, who has been exercising all morning, is also very hungry. At this moment, after eating a big bowl of ramen, one felt like I was half full, so I ordered another bowl. Xiao Li, did you see that? Even an outstanding junior like you has already finished the first bowl, we can't fall behind. Might Guy grabbed his chopsticks and quickly wiped out the food in front of him. Rock Lee looked at the soy sauce ramen in front of him, his face sank and he said, But teacher, I don't have that much money. It's okay, the teacher treats you today. Might Guy generously took out a wad of money and slapped it on the table. Xiao Li, just eat as much as you can. Teacher Guy. Xiao Li, seeing that this wonderful pair of master and apprentice was about to play tricks again, Kakashi on the side quickly finished the last bite of noodles, and then took out 60 taels and put them on the table. Guy, I'm leaving first, you guys eat slowly. Kakashi waved his hand and left the ramen shop quickly. As expected of my lifelong opponent, Kakashi. Might Guy was wiping away his tears and snot while eating noodles with big mouthfuls. He finished a large bowl of soy sauce ramen in 3 or 4 bites. It's a shame that he ate such hot noodles so quickly. Don't you think it's hot? Yagami Ryosuke complained in his heart, then watched Might Guy and ordered another bowl of miso ramen. Half an hour later, I'm stuffed. Might Guy put down his chopsticks, and a large pile of ramen bowls had already been piled up next to him. A full 12 bowls. As expected of Konoha's physique expert, he has a good appetite. Unlike Kakashi, 1 bowl is enough. I'm full too. Rock Lee, who followed closely behind, also put down his chopsticks. Although he didn't eat as much as Might Guy, he still finished 5 bowls of ramen. This appetite is several times more exaggerated than that of normal adults. You know, Rock Lee is only 11 years old. In contrast, Yagami Ryosuke was still slowly eating his second bowl of tonkatsu ramen. There is no sign of trying to compete with them in speed. Young man, we must continue to work hard in the future. Might Guy pulled out enough money to pay for the ramen and put it on the table. Before leaving, he said hello to Yagami Ryosuke, and then left the ramen restaurant with Rock Lee. It's finally gone. Yagami Ryosuke watched them all leave before finishing the last bit of ramen in the bowl. In fact, he could have finished eating a long time ago, but just to wait for Might Guy and his master and apprentice to leave, he abruptly slowed down the speed several times, and the ramen he made was almost cold. After taking a few bites, Yagami Ryosuke put 120 taels on the table, then reached out to touch Kakashi's position just now, and picked up a silver-white hair. Even elite Jonin cannot avoid normal physiological metabolism. Hair loss is also normal. Subsequently, Night God Ryosuke went over to pick up a few more black hairs. I don't know which of these black hairs is Might Guy's and which is Rock Lee's. Anyway, it must belong to the two of them, so Night God Ryosuke was put into the biological pheromone warehouse and kept for future use. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.